So how are you anyway? You okay? It's been
Yeah,
a
I'm doing
crazy
well. Do
week,
you want to
right?
give a quick rundown? Is this like episode 2 of our critical review of, or should I say, critical review of all the league stuff going on?
That's funny actually, because that is what my YouTube channel was originally going to be. Scritical review. It was meant to just be like a gaming review page, and here I am now.
Mhm.
So yeah, I guess this is episode 2, right? Um, which is really exciting. So it's good to get together after we originally ranked the regions, which now just looks so so out of whack, doesn't
Oh
it?
yeah, I was thinking about like what could like the thumbnail thing, and I think it's just gonna be "We were so wrong." That's just gonna be like
Oh
the
yeah.
title of this, you know?
Oh yeah. Maybe I should clear up actually. I did not know, okay? For anyone out there accusing me, I did not know about the Echo bosses and their rewards before our last chat. I knew I was going to do it, but that the information was withheld until after that video for obvious reasons. So, um
Yeah,
yeah,
and don't
don't
worry,
worry, I wasn't snaking you.
I did not think you were doing that because I would also like because you did say the kite and blowpipe, right? And I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
like, or like
Yeah.
and I was like, there's no way they like just kind of leaked it a week before. That would be crazy, right? Like, there's just no way. But yeah, I no, I think that was
Crazy.
pretty cool, and that it's very cool that you got to do that video. I don't know if like I don't know if you know how good that video was. You know what I mean? Like, it was so cool to watch, and I'm like really glad you got to make that one. I bet it was a lot of
You
work
enjoyed
too.
it?
So
You
I
think
don't
it was
know.
good?
Yeah, I thought the video was awesome. I think everybody loved it, to be honest.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I just realized that I didn't have any audio there, so that first part of this is just gonna be nothing from my end. But yeah, no, the Echo Bus video was super cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I was watching back your takes after, and it was just really fun seeing everyone kind of react to that video because it was just a lot of fun. And like, obviously, I was super excited when I saw that information, but I couldn't speak to anyone about it. So it was just me talking to Hootie for like a week straight. Like, dude, this is insane.
Yeah,
I
and I
can't
think
wait for everyone
the
to see
crazy
it.
part is like there's just I feel like it changes so much
Yeah.
that I almost like understand why you were kind of quiet about things because I don't know if you could like talk about anything else knowing that information. It's probably the
Yeah.
biggest change,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll definitely get onto that. So I'm just going to redo this, but this is our kind of like second episode of mine and Double Shine's kind of critical review of everything so far. So today we're going to go through all of the teasers, right? So far. So we're only a week into the reveals. We're going to go through them kind of one by one. And then maybe at the end, like, we're going to revisit that list we did originally and kind of admit how wrong we were. But
Yep.
that's the plan, right?
Yeah. So I think that like I've been having so many people saying like, "Oh, can you just do that every day again? Can you two just go back?" And I'm like, "All right, please, just like give us a
Yeah.
couple days, all right? Like I don't want to be
Yeah.
embarrassed every single day posting up the new list of region rankings." So
Yeah, and what's even crazier is that even the reveals like outside of the Echo Boss information, I feel like they are really impacting the rankings day by day.
oh, they're
So like,
huge. Yeah.
yeah, like we can make a list again today. In a few more days, it will change again.
Yep. I'm
Right?
really glad that we're doing this after the Total Recall because originally we were supposed to do this yesterday before Banker's Note and Total Recall came out, and I'm like so glad that we ended up like accidentally lining up so that it hits this
Yeah.
day because pretty it's a pretty big one. And I think like do you remember last year how we had this like advent calendar style thing and there were stuff like here are the drop rate multipliers for like the first couple
Yeah.
like dude, the stuff we're getting this year is crazy compared to that. Like we're getting entire tiers,
Yeah.
all the like it, I don't know, it is nuts how much information is coming out, and literally just 1 week in, like there's still another week of stuff to go through. Like I don't know, that's crazy.
Yeah. They weren't joking because I remember asking the question is like, what's on the cards for reveals this year? And obviously there were no spoilers, but I think the thing I got back was, oh, it's bigger and better than last year, and they weren't kidding, you know. So yeah, it's crazy this year. I wonder though, are we in for a reveal this year that is going to be a little bit kind of like tame? Is it going to be like, oh, okay, so here are all of the drop rate multipliers, here are all of the mini game multipliers, here are the kind of passive effects of any relic tiers. Are we just going to get all of them in a reveal and that's going to feel a little bit underwhelming? Or because it might all be packaged together, is that actually going to be a pretty nice reveal to have this year? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think there's still a lot of like room for more stuff, and I
Mm,
wouldn't be surprised if we got like an information dump, but
yeah.
like just based on how much they've been fitting in on every single day, I feel like they're trying to spread it out a bit more evenly as opposed to I remember last year it was like we got kind of like small stuff and like a couple big ones, and then the last days it was like just nukes of like here's all
Yeah.
the information, and I think they're trying to space it out a bit more. We saw echo bosses. Hopefully, we'll see combat masteries sometime this week. I'm so that's like the last thing I feel before I can really start to
Yeah.
like
I feel
go
like you're
hard
holding
on all
back
the
on us,
stuff.
you know?
Yeah,
Is this gonna be it? Is there gonna be a double shine video that pops out now in Masteries? Who
I
knows?
can't. Okay, if I was asked to do that, I would
Yeah.
not say anything. All right, that's the thing. And
Of course.
as of
No,
right
no, no,
now, I
sorry,
have
I don't
not
wanna
been
put you on the
reached out.
pressure.
And if they have reached out to me, I can't say that I would have been reached out to. So
Everyone in the comments is gonna be theorizing now,
I know
and
it's awful.
yeah, I love that. I love it.
But I don't know if you saw they did shout me out on the Banker's Note video. That was my character. Um,
Did they?
yeah. So I was pretty stoked about that. That was really cool to see.
Oh, sweet.
I didn't even
That's
catch
actually a
it.
nice little.
I did like the
Did
whole
you know?
video reviewing it, and then after that, I'm just sitting there watching, and I'm like, wait, that's my character on the screen. Well, I was like, wait, what? So yeah, it was a huge mind trip.
I'm going back just to find that now, but that's awesome. I'm
Yep,
glad they did that, man. I think it's really nice to see those subtle details. So I think we've already seen like Foe's character.
bald,
I'm gonna be honest. I don't. Yeah, but bald. Yeah.
bald.
Um, and I don't really know all the other ones yet because I just haven't paid too
I've
much
seen a
attention to the
couple. I
videos.
think I think Jimmy had his shown one
Yeah,
day.
he did.
I
He
think
did
I
actually.
think I
Yeah.
want to say it was like I think it was I don't know who it is. It's like the Fremnick locked person. Um,
Jeoparite, is it?
it might be, but I remember I saw some of them, a couple familiar like looking creators. I think that's a cool shout out. I think you Jack,
Mm.
who's been doing a lot of leagues videos this year, they did their character was for Total Recall, so it
Oh,
was kind of cool to
sweet.
see. Yeah,
Oh yeah, no, good stuff for him, man. I've caught a few of his videos recently, and they're good stuff. Really
yep,
good stuff. I'm
yep.
glad
Shout out
that
to them.
like people are jumping on the league's content and shining like their own opinions on it because everyone has a different opinion. You know, like we're probably gonna get into these tier one relics in a second and
Oh yeah.
have totally different views. Like that's just the way leagues is, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
it's cool
we,
because there's always like a good justification too. Like I feel like
yeah,
as long as somebody can enjoy it, then it's still a good relic. Even if it was like 90% and 10%, if the 10% are enjoying it, then I think that's a win. So
oh yeah, no, 100%. And I think that one other thing that is a little bit disappointing about leagues, you know, not to like hate on anyone or be negative about it, but I just think the amount of people that have this opinion of your opinion is X, my opinion is Y, you are wrong, you know, and then just like doing all of this, it's like there's a viable reason and a viable way you could take anything in leagues and make it work out for you. So I think that's really important point to get across. And I don't think there's any one single thing that has been revealed so far that I would say is just straight up bad. So
I
that's
have
really
I have a
good.
couple
That's really good.
thoughts. I have a couple thoughts I think are kind of bad, but it's like super
Ooh,
minimal
okay.
compared to the past. But I think we'll get into that. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Should we start then? Should we start with
yeah,
the
yeah. Let's start
first
going through it.
reveal?
So I'm gonna skip to what tier one relics, right? That was the first thing we got. Kind of tradition of big tradition of leagues, right? We're always getting those tier one relics coming in first.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this year, I mean, what can I say? Endless Harvest up top. Everybody's part of Harvest Gang now. So we got the
Yeah.
Animal Wrangler, the Lumberjack, and the Power Miner, and it's basically
Yeah.
combining the effect of Endless Harvest, but you're also getting that Infernal Gathering effect too, where you're like auto cooking, auto smelting, um, auto fire making, I guess. Yeah. So and
Yeah.
I think it's really
Yeah.
cool. I really like it. I really like this kind of tier. New
I
direction.
love that. No, no, no. I super love that. And I don't want to jump straight into theory crafting and, you know, theorizing, but like, does this mean we're going to get a production kind of one along the same lines later on? I'm not sure. I feel like some of these actually already kind of do that for you, like you say, don't they? Because they've got the infernal kind of tools built in.
Yeah, and that's why
Um,
I don't think we'll see a production one because it is kind of built in.
mm,
And so like imagine if you could
mm,
do, there's a production one that made you like smith all of your bars. Why would you ever pick that with a mining one? Right? It's like and then
yeah.
you would just pick that instead, and it feels like you're just kind of combining two of them. I'm not like against it. I just think it's a little bit like
Mm.
redundant when you're overlapping relics like that.
Yeah, but that's like it leaves the question, doesn't it, of like, are they actually opening up the path for you to have like a super flexible build? So you pick harvester for your woodcutting. Let's say you're a lumberjacker, but then you pick a production for the smithing or mining skill. So that way you're balanced out kind of on both ends, if that makes sense. So I think there's still a possibility that could happen.
For
But you're
things like
right. It,
Herbivore
it
too,
does
that would be huge to auto make all your
exactly. Yeah.
potions. That would be. I think I would definitely pick something like that because making potions sucks.
Yeah. 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 Although some of these kind of like more recent relics we've seen, I feel like they're just gonna make things so easy now, which is incredible. But we'll get onto that in a bit. We're talking about tier one relics, power miner, lumberjack, animal wrangler. They all look, in their defense, I think they all look amazing. And I was super surprised when I saw the poll in Discord at how few people are picking a lumberjack relic. So tell me,
Yeah.
because I feel like this is your thing, isn't it? Are you a lumberjacker? Are you a
So for a
jacker?
while I was very much on the page of like I think Animal Wrangler's the best and stuff.
Yeah.
Recently I've been kind of getting very like I'm almost positive that I'm gonna take Lumberjack at this point. It's really really close for me.
Mm.
And the reason why is because like I've played Endless Harvest the last 2 seasons and it is still awful to do mining. Like it's still awful to do mining even when you have Endless Harvest because you're clicking constantly between the rocks, right? There's no like infinite source like there is Karambwans or Dark Crabs. And going from like 1 second to like 5 seconds because now it lasts for five, like, is that really that big of a difference for me? Uh, it's nice, but it's not like game breaking. And basically, I just started thinking that there's a very good chance, maybe because I'll probably be editing videos and stuff. There's a very good chance that I'm going to spend a lot of time doing shooting stars to get my mining up. There's a very good
Yeah.
chance that I'm going to be doing Karambwans for fishing, and that's a pretty substantial amount of AFK time,
Yeah.
even without Animal Wrangler. Like, yeah, you'll get 25 minutes of just AFKing at Karambwans. That's awesome, right? Like, that's
Mm.
cool. If you want to do that every single night, good for you, kind of thing. But
Mm.
what I realize is that Lumberjack will allow you to do magic logs AFK for about 4 minutes because of forestry. And opening that up compared to having to do like teak trees and stuff like that. I think I actually checked, and because you're getting that like 50% like coin flip chance of getting the resource,
Yeah.
things like magic logs, sharks, all that stuff becomes so insanely good. And AFK magic logs, so 4 minutes of AFK is the same rate as 1.5 tick teaks, or roughly about the same. And like
That's pretty
that's
good. Yeah.
kind of nuts. Like to me, that feels really good, and it's gonna get one of the more annoying skills I think out of the way that doesn't have as good of an
Yeah.
AFK option as the others.
What kind of tasks do you envisage that being able to help you with? Because there's always typically the kind of things of like fletch, exbo, cut set amount of logs, isn't there? And I suppose burn X amount of logs as well. So it speeds up all of those. I'm just thinking, compared to some of the other two relics, do you think that when it comes to points, this one could potentially win out?
I think on points alone, probably not. But a
Mm.
big thing is that you cannot buy logs from shops. You can buy food from shops. You can buy ore from
Mhm.
shops. You can't
Yeah.
buy logs for planks. And construction is pretty huge. We've already seen some pretty like, crazy strong relics. We'll probably get into that give you the money to buy some pretty strong
Yeah.
construction options. But even outside of that, just having a huge supply of planks from doing mahoganies or doing teaks, like I think that's going to help a lot with construction. So I'm really looking
Mhm.
forward to it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing as well is it's easy to look at these in isolation and just pick one out. But actually the picture's going to get so broad and like we will get onto the other reveal shortly, but like if you are picking Golden God or, another thing that helps you with your money, Lumberjack does feel like a very good option for filling a gap that money can't buy. Like you say pretty much. So I can totally see that. Um do you want to know
If you
my
have
opinion then?
access,
So
if you have access to like stonemason, it's kind of different, right? Because you'll just get your
yeah,
construction
if
otherwise.
you're
Like
a
that's a
Varnam or a
different story.
Fremennik, yeah,
But we'll talk about that with Golden God because that's a pretty cool one. I'm excited.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
let
yeah.
me hear your takes. Kind of
That's
like
valid. Well, no, so when I first saw these, immediately I thought Power Miner looks insane. Um, it kind of does solve that early money problem as well. Um, and typically Varrock East and West mines and some of the other mines around Mistlin on day one are, I'm going to be honest with you, they're a pain in the ass. Like trying to get what you need to tick off your task while everyone else is there is horrible, man. And I thought, oh God, if so many people take this relic, there's no shot I'm going to be in with a chance unless I pick this. But I actually love that they kind of thought about this because in the power mine and relic, the fact that you don't deplete the rock for 4 ores, not only does that kind of benefit you, getting multiple ores from a rock, but it also kind of prevents all the competition in a way, or at least slows it down. Because if everyone is mining the same thing, you're going to get multiple things. And those people that don't pick the mine and relic are still going to be able to get an ore from that rock. So it kind of solves the issue that I thought it would create in the first place. And then with Animal Wrangler, I'll be honest with you, I totally agree. I think that you can already have your AFK time fishing, Karambwans or even like, sharks or minnows or whatever you end up doing. But I think that the other end of this relic is what is making it attractive for me, or the hunter stuff. Because I'm a big Varlamore fan. I don't think that's any secret at this point. And I still plan on at least one of my playthroughs picking that region first. And that is where I think this region is, where I think this relic, sorry, is probably gonna be stronger rather than its like fishing element. Don't get me wrong, it's got some great synergies with other relics later on, which we'll get into, but just as like the standalone kind of like bits of that relic, the hunter stuff is so exciting for me. It really is.
I think if you're going with a region that has Chinchampas, well, for everybody gets gray chins at the Isle of Souls,
Yeah.
but like red chins in Kandarin, Tiranwin, or black chins in the Wildy, I feel like this is a must pick, basically. Like,
Yeah.
because fishing is also really good. It's kind of like it's kind of the same as with lumberjack, how you can start doing magic logs. Now you'll be able to fish like dark crabs. You'll be able to do sharks for pretty much, I think, like meta rates. Mining with Asgarnia is also really good for amethyst for that same reason. You get like 300k experience an hour before any multipliers, which is insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that if you have chins, Animal Wrangler almost feels like a no-brainer. I just don't know if I'm going for a chin region. So
no,
yeah.
I get that. And to be honest, the other bit outside of chins that I thought was great is if you do, I mean, we still don't have a task list, right? If you do pick a region that does have a lot of hunter creatures in it, I can definitely see that with the kind of more hunting rework, the refresh to a lot of how hunting works around the game, that I'm imagining there's going to be some more tasks around it this year. So it may help with those. But I totally do think that the other two relics have almost like a better long-term plan than Animal Wrangler. But
Especially with Varlamore,
as
the later hunter rumors,
yeah,
they basically are like 100% to get them anyways.
yeah,
But it's going to help you
yeah.
get past that early game, and you don't want to be stuck doing the low level hunter creatures. Like that's
No,
going to be really rough.
I don't want to be doing Pyre Foxes for like 2 days in a row,
With
man.
like
That's gonna drive me
75
nuts.
people there, yeah, that's
That's gonna drive me nuts. Like when Varlamore first got released and I got my first Pyre Fox task, I kid you not, I think I was like maybe hopping between 20, 30 worlds to try find a spot. It was horrible. But I was gonna say that for me, I think knowing that I'm gonna have to edit videos of gameplay in leagues, Animal Wrangler has that other element of like long AFK time that I think I'm just looking forward to. So that is probably, if I'm honest, selfishly, the main reason I'm going to pick Animal Wrangler. But I can totally see that they're all good. I really love that there's not one to me that I think that is clearly the best and that is clearly the worst.
yeah, no, I agree. I think for most people, Wrangler will be better just because of 25 minutes. Like you can go like
Yeah.
I remember I went to the store sometimes to like get food. I would come back and I'm still 600 deep
Yeah.
into my Karam ones basically,
Yeah.
and that was really fun, really cool to use. Although I think people are sleeping on Lumberjack, and I wanted to point out its strengths, which is very applicable.
Yeah.
Really, unless you have a good use case for Wrangler, like I think Lumberjack's going to be pretty popular. Maybe not for Zaya though, because
Yeah.
I think that might be double dipping a little too much.
Yeah,
So,
with having Winter Todd accessible.
yeah, you do
there
get
as
auto
well.
fletch, but
Yeah.
like I don't think it's as important. So
I really like the auto fletch because actually one of the best ways to do fletching in leagues is just, broad arrowheads. And one of the most annoying parts for me in previous leagues has been getting all those shafts together in the first place. So I think people look at that and they can easily be like, is that good? But yes, it is.
if they,
It is actually
yeah,
really useful.
if they change it to headless arrows, I think it would be a lot better because then you don't
That
have
would
to
be
add the
insane,
feathers
actually.
yourself.
Yeah,
I think that
not
would be
having
a
to get the feathers.
huge benefit. and it would,
Mm,
yeah, like I think that would be pretty cool.
yeah, absolutely agree. The only thing I don't like about Lumberjack, and I'm not bashing on the relic, is that luckily it's a toggle, but like choosing to burn logs is, I mean, it's useful for trying to get the requirements, like you say, for maybe going to Wintertot or something like that, or just trying to get your like total levels up for tasks or whatever it might be. Otherwise, I feel like that part of it just feels a little bit like it's just got such minimal uses, you know?
Well, cooking's pretty easy too. Like I feel like that was my idea with cooking.
Yeah.
Smithing is hard, and I agree. I think mining is really good for the smithing portion. Like I
Yeah.
think the production portion is something that people don't think about enough.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. And the other good thing about the mining one as well was the gems, right? Like
Yes,
early gems just being crafted straight away. That's awesome.
you can go to the Shiloh village mine now with medium Karamja diaries. So
Yeah.
like, there's plenty
Yeah.
there. You're not going to be fighting for people. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah. I think one of the first things Foe said when he saw that reveal was like, "Oh, the Shiloh Village gem mine is just going to be full of people now." So
Yep.
that's kind of cool. I like that. Right.
Shall we move on to the next reveal? Because
Yeah.
we got
Tier 1. It was a good reveal. It was a really good reveal, but
really
I
cool
do feel
reveal.
like the
Yeah.
next day was even cooler in my opinion.
Yeah. So day
Do you
2.
want to explain it?
Yeah, so day 2 we got Golden God. And what this basically does is it allows you to cast High Alchemy for free, no rune cost, no level requirement, straight at level 1 magic if you wanted to. Items give 50% more gold, but most importantly, they have a 65% chance to not be consumed. What this essentially means is that every item you get, you'll be able to alch it 3.2 times. That's how the math works out. So, and monetarily wise, every single item roughly doubles in value by the time you're done, like putting it through that alch chain. So you're basically doubling your GP every time you buy a stack of items. And you also
Yeah.
get to note items, which is a huge perk. And you also get to use gold at prayer altars to get prayer experience quite a bit. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, I think people are basically calling it like the upgraded fire sale of this year.
I love it. I think it's such a I think it incorporates more elements of gameplay and it is a less lazy relic. So I'm not saying like Fire Sale was like a bad relic by any means. You know, people bash on it as a good relic, but I feel like this is just a better way to actually have some gameplay around it. And I just love that it's got so many ways that it can be used with other relics and skills. You know, we were just talking about animal wrangler and things like that. You know, even with the woodcutting relic, you know, if you have a constant stack of arrowheads coming in, fair enough, you know, they're not going to out for much money, but that's constant magic XP because the Owl King, I think Mod Husky confirmed, does give you magic XP as well.
This is basically free
So
200 mil magic. Oh, did I
yeah,
forget? I think I actually forgot to say the most important part. It just auto alks the entire time,
yeah,
like short of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I
that is
almost
crazy.
forgot. That's like the coolest thing about this is it just
Yeah,
automatically alks while you're gathering. It'll keep alking while you're fighting. If you open up a bank and then you close the bank, it resumes alking. If you swap your spell book, it keeps alking. Like it's pretty cool. It's pretty damn
yeah,
cool.
it's awesome. And it just works with so many. I know a lot of people out there actually have been thinking, like, okay, so, you know, theorizing with Animal Wrangler, okay, I can fish for 25 minutes AFK. I can also out for 25 minutes AFK. That's an easy 200 mil magic and fishing. But actually, you know, it goes a lot wider than that. You know, if you're mining something like a rune rock, you know, that can take a very long time. And you're going to be getting up to 4 or 7 ores if you've got superior mining gloves. So you might be there a long time alking while you're doing that. If you're woodcutting, you know, and you're doing the magic logs or redwood trees, same thing. Fair enough, maybe not for as long as you would be with Animal Wrangler, but I think this actually does so well with all of the tier 1 relics. And I
Yeah,
don't know what tier it is, you know?
I think that because it's so similar to Fire Sale, I'm expecting this to be
Mm,
like tier 3, and I think it's going to pair
mm,
really well with those gathering relics.
yeah,
I know some people don't think that this is very good, but like just to be clear, even something like getting dragon longswords starts becoming like 40 mil an hour cash.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
and you can get those in
You need
like
a diamond to get in,
Zenaris.
right? Like that's it. You just need a diamond, I think, to get into that
Yeah,
market,
which you
and
can
that's it.
buy from Sahara shop, right? Like you'll have the money to go buy the runes and stuff like that. Like I think people like it is a slower start. You're not just starting off with infinite money, but like I
Mm,
think by like literally day 2 or day 3, you're gonna
yeah,
have max cash stack. Alking
yeah,
condensed gold is I believe 2 billion an hour.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which, well, actually, but you can only do it for 20 minutes because I'm pretty sure you'll hit the max cash stack in
Yeah,
20 minutes of alking. It's like
yeah.
pretty
So, like,
ridiculous.
arguably, it's an upgraded fire sale because I know a lot of people with fire sale were thinking like, okay, so I actually need the magic requirement first, and that's a hurdle. I need the runes first, and that was a hurdle, but not anymore. You know, now you've got the access to, you know, you don't need the level requirement for high alch. You're not always going to use up the item. I think it's just a really flexible and upgraded version of fire sale, in my opinion. And I
And one
love
thing,
the prayer side of it is sweet as well, right?
yeah. It's like you mentioned, it's another AFK option. I love AFK options in leagues. I think
Mm.
people assume they're going to be playing 100% of the time, and that's just not true. Like, you're going to have downtime. You know, most of us have jobs. Like, we got other stuff to be doing and stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, you'll have enough coins to get 99 prayer probably by like day 4, day 5. Like, it's pretty strong, and you won't even need like the wildy altar. I won't even bother with the wildy altar. Like, just throw one up in your house,
Yeah.
go eat lunch, and you'll come
Easy.
back with like 5 mil prayer experience. You'll be fine.
Yeah, easy. And it's been confirmed to work at like the ectofunctus as well.
Oh,
So, you know,
really?
if you are a
Wow.
Mori picker, yeah, I think it has. All right, don't hold me on that, but I'm sure I saw someone ask the question soon after reveal, and I'm sure someone said like, yeah, it does. Which is great because I feel like the ectofunctus is, you know, the one piece of prayer content that gets left in the dust when you compare it to everything else. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, like, prayer is good. I think a lot of people act like gold and prayer is something that's so easily solved, or like magic, but like, these are not that easy to get, especially at the early game, because I do think it's going to be a fairly early game relic. It's going to help you
Yeah,
out pretty early on. And having 99 magic, that's a ton of tasks. There's so many magic based tasks, especially if you go
yeah,
the desert with like the ancients, or
yeah,
Fremenic with lunars.
yeah,
Having good prayer is going to be nice. Like,
yeah,
yeah, there's
100%.
like, I think
Prayer plays into
people
so many elements of this league as well. Like, you know, I mean, we'll get onto this, but like there's echo weapons that need prayer. There's gear, you know, we've got new prayer gear this year from Valamor. And
Grimoire
um
unlocks all the prayers when you get it.
Grimoire unlocks all the prayers. And like just coming back to something you just said there, people saying that like prayers are solved skill. Like if you're talking about getting overhead prayers, sure, you could just bury bones. You'll get overhead prayers in no time. But actually prayer goes pretty deep, and unless you are going to pick that Grimoire, can never pronounce that, Grimoire relic,
The Grimmy,
you're, you know, the Grimmy. That's just
the
easier to
Grimmy.
say.
That's what we're
Yeah,
gonna
we'll say
call
the
it.
Grimmy. Unless you are going to pick that, which we'll get onto in a bit, you are going to need like 77 prayer or whatever it is, and that's assuming that we're not going to be treated with, you know, a new prayer book relic this year, which may still happen. So there's lots of uses for prayer that I think people don't see.
Yeah, and gold in general, it's good for, again, good for like construction. You can basically do all the fire sale construction methods. You will be able to do them in a couple days. Um,
Mm.
it's good for buying raw fish. Good for buying ores. There's a couple ore shops. Um, yeah, there's a lot. I think pretty much all your production ones you'll be able to buy like broad arrows and stuff like that. Like, also, again, noted. I feel like buying noted is something that people don't think about. It is way easier to buy noted than, like, yeah, you'll have like, you know, you'll be able to like bankers note your stuff or whatever, but like, it's better
Mhm.
to buy things noted. It really is.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I agree. I totally agree. I think this just is a really cool relic, and I love that it was teased early because it kind of plays into some of these later relics. You know, a lot of people were thinking, is Fire Sale going to come back? Is it going to be up against Banker's Note? Well, we'll get onto that a bit later, I'm sure.
I think last thing I wanted to say about this is I think that this is actually way cooler than Fire Sale because it's a little bit more like emergent gameplay as to how you build
Yeah,
your cash stack, you know? Like,
yeah,
do you
yeah.
want to go and get like 6 Dragon Longswords and then 12 Dragon Longswords and then 18 and then like 25 and then like slowly build your stack? Or are you just going to buy like, maybe buy like, I don't know, steel plate bodies and just chill for 2 hours? You
Yeah,
know, like,
yeah,
it's a little cooler, and I think the decision making there is a little more interesting than Fire Sale, where like you clicked it, then you walked and you got 250 mil, or you got like 200 mil construction or something, or a 50 mil construction.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, I think that this is a more fun way, and I think people are going to enjoy it even without like the early game start. And also, like, you can't really go wrong. Even if you buy a condensed gold with your first like 10 mil cash stack, you're still alking it for 65% of the value. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're deleting half your cash stack, but like it's not you're not like completely ruining your game. You can't like brick your account by like accidentally alking away your cash stack.
No, exactly. And I think like again, it's all going to depend on what tier this comes in at. But there are so many uses for it outside of shop as well. You are going to build up a stack of items doing whatever it is, birdhouse runs, mining volcanic ash, which is a really good actually, early money maker at the very beginning if this isn't a super early relic. And there's just going to be lots of ways to get rid of those annoying things in your bank that actually can just generate you GP and magic XP while you're running around the game doing other tasks. So I think that's really cool.
Yep. I love it.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I can't wait to see what it's up against. That's the hard part though.
Yeah, that's the biggest question mark right now. And they've done this intentionally because everyone is looking at this and thinking this is insane, but is it a bait?
Yeah,
Is
and just
what it's up against going to be huge?
well, just to put it clear, Fire Sale was up against Banker's Note last year, and that was like a lot of people still went with Fire Sale. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
that,
I don't have the
that should
stats
just show
actually.
you.
You know what? If I can find the stats, I'll put them up on the screen
For
now.
sure,
But
yeah.
it was closer, wasn't it? It was quite close.
I think it was like it was pretty close. I want to say it was like 40-60 at the worst. Probably closer to like 55-45 in favor of Banker's Note. So
Yeah. I
that
hope we're
should
not
just
totally
tell
wrong when I
people.
do find that, but
Yeah, I think
yeah.
that should tell people that like this is much more interesting than you might think.
Yeah, 100%.
We move on to your big reveal, the Echo bosses.
Yeah. Yeah, the Echo bosses. Oh man, this was so much fun. Yeah, I remember seeing Hootie sent me the thumbnail before it went up, and I was like, "Oh man, that looks so cool." I love that wieldy weapon design and the KVD and everything. But yeah, should we get into it? So, day 3 reveal was Echo bosses and Echo items or Echo rewards. And I'm not going to get into like loads of detail because there's tons of videos out there, but there's one Echo boss per region. So, what do you want to do? Do you want to go through each one of them and like say our thoughts?
Yeah, I think we just go through our thoughts real quick. We don't have to like list out what it does and all the implications, but just little thoughts. I think otherwise we'll be here for like
Yeah.
an hour just talking
I was going
about
to say,
these.
this is a video in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
So let's just go in the order that it's on the reveal page, which
Mhm.
I think is Asgarnia first, and that's the dog sword. I can quickly explain that because it's really simple. It's every god sword into one. And the name, first of all, is the best thing about this weapon, for sure. But it also just, it looks really cool. Special attacking weapon, quite clearly. And we still don't know what the special attacking relic is this year. So I think that it could be incredible, or it could be, up against some real hard competition if there isn't something good to synergize with this. What are your thoughts on the dog sword?
So okay, before I ask, okay, I gotta ask you. When you made the
Yeah,
video, did they just send
yeah.
you footage, or did you actually get to press the button? Like
Oh, yeah,
because
no. Okay, so I can't really say much. I'll be honest with you, I can't.
okay, well I'm just here. What
I
I'm saying
didn't.
is I want to press this button like really
Yeah, I know.
bad. I
I
need
know.
to press the button. I'm so jealous right now. It's like
Yeah.
I want to click it. I want to click
I
it
didn't
one
get to
time. It
press the
just
button. I think I can say that. I didn't get to
okay.
press the
You didn't
button
get. I
separate.
okay because I want to press the button, and if you did press the button, I'd be very jealous right now. So
Yeah. No, I didn't get to press the button. And I can't wait to do it because I think that this weapon could just be such a fun weapon. Um, but again, I think in terms of viability, it's going to depend on whether there's a special attacking relic or not.
yeah, the healing on this is crazy. I think
Mm,
healing is going to be really huge. So
yeah.
I'm excited for this. Like I think once we see it, a lot of people are probably going to open their eyes to this a bit more. I think right now people are kind of like on the fence because it's just not like thematically it's cool, but spec weapon with no spec relic is nothing crazy. So
Yeah, that's unfortunate at the stage we're at, but it does look really cool. Comes from Cerberus. Kind of cool how they did. So do you remember in our first discussion we were theorizing like, hey, what could the Echo bosses be? And for Asgarnia, we thought, oh, it'd be cool if it was the mole, but at the same time, would that be too early? And then we also thought like, oh, will it be a Slayer boss? Surely not, because like, how are they going to instance it? Do you need a task? So I think it's cool that we finally have an answer to all of that. Yes, Slayer bosses are included, but you won't need a Slayer task once you get the orb for that boss. So I quite like that because it gives you something to work towards and actually train Slayer for. Um, and the fact that Cerberus is like listed at master difficulty as well, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Because we spoke about Cerberus's mechanics last time, and actually, like, what could they throw in there? That'll be really interesting.
yeah, I think one of the most brilliant parts about the Echo bosses has been shoring up the worst bosses in every region, both in like design, like Calphi Queen, not very fun, but also
Mm.
in accessibility. So things like requiring Slayer tasks, no instances for Cerberus, right? We'll get to some of the others like Hespori, no longer needing to grow that. Things like that are so cool that I'm genuinely like so impressed that they went to that level and planned that out and solved it in a
Yeah,
cool way that wasn't just like, all right, we're just gonna create an instance for every boss in the game, basically.
yeah, yeah. Super cool. I love that.
We're talking about desert.
Um, yeah, let's talk about the desert because we this is the only one we guessed. This is the
Yes, the only
only
one we got
one we
right.
guessed.
To be fair, they kind of
Go for it.
spelled it out for us when they said a ranged weapon from the desert that's about the strength of a blowpipe. So,
Yeah,
you know, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm some wizard here coming up with this one.
yeah,
But yeah, the Drygar blowpipe. I'm so excited for this thing because what does blowpipe suck at? It sucks at having accuracy, and this thing has that fang effect of it rolls for accuracy twice. It's also again redemption from the old like leaks too of like blowpipe in the desert, and I think a super accurate ranged weapon is going to make desert really fun, especially because that's going to shore up where a twisted bow kind of lacks. It just demolishes those high magic, but having a blowpipe on top of that feels like there's going to be really fun swaps.
yeah, for sure. Um, I did like a builds video that came out not long ago, and I love this gore maxing build where people are just gonna go for a blowpipe build around this item, max out as much range strength as possible, and this thing goes to town, man. Like, I'll be honest, when I first saw all these reveals and I was putting the video together, I thought like, I'm actually not sure about the blowpipe. Is it weak? Is it actually bad? Like, I guess it's accurate, but the max hit potential sucks. But
20
actually,
range
you only have
strength less
to
than the regular blowpipe too. I'm not
yeah,
sure if
exactly.
that's so.
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
thought. I
But
thought, oh wow, this thing does suck, and then they started doing the calculations, right? And
yeah, yeah, no, exactly the same as me, man. As soon as you pair this with a couple of regions that give you good like range gear, it's crazy. And I really like that the desert gives you the ability to smith darts, and now you're just going to have that functionality built into the desert. So seems like a no-brainer. We guessed this one, and I think it's a really good reward, actually.
yeah, I love it. I'm almost like pretty sure I'm going the desert now just for this. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's super cool. And KQ, we spoke about this just like offline and stuff, but KQ is actually a pretty accessible boss. No requirements really. Um, and depending on what kind of build you go down, magic, range, melee, you could do this boss pretty early on. So yeah, could be
That's
cool.
something I think we should definitely keep in mind is what bosses are easily done, right? They have put like a difficulty. This is an elite, right? There's elite,
Yeah,
master, like 5 elites, 3 masters, and 1 grandmaster.
yeah,
And I think that is something you should think about because you'll be able to get these a little bit earlier and use this as like an entryway weapon into the rest of the game, right?
yeah, yeah,
You're not
100%.
gonna get you're not gonna get a shadow nearly as fast as this thing from my guess at least.
No, but and actually, this is super useful at Tower as well because you could argue that while some of the bosses in there are weak to range, it's going to be really good against. Why am I forgetting his name? I always just call him Krondis because of the
Zabak.
freaking puzzle. Yeah, Zebak. It's going to be great against Zebak, and like Baba range typically struggles at, but I think this weapon will be an exception. It's going to absolutely shred through most of the other bosses. I think Akka being the main thing that you're really going to be held back for by needing to use all three styles.
Only
Unless
thing
you're,
that
good at butterflying, but hey, go on.
Yeah, only thing that could change my mind at this point about Desert is combat styles. If we get the half speed, this becoming a one
Yeah,
tick blowpipe makes it tough to use. But again, we don't know
yeah,
about that yet, so
no,
I'm not making any like implications based on future things that we don't know about yet because that's
yeah.
I'm okay on that.
Yeah, no, no. It'd be too easy for us to put ourselves in a hole here and then eat our words in another week's time,
Yeah,
for sure. So let's move on to Mauritania.
yeah,
Here is we've got the Grotesque Guardians, and this is really cool. Like you say, picking up some of the bosses that I think are quite unpopular or don't have the most inspiring rewards or fights already. And from here, you can get the Gloves of the Damned, which act as like Barrow's gloves, which is really cool. But they also act as an Amulet of the Damned, and they double the effects of the Amulet of the Damned editions and the set effects. And I'll just jump in because I had to clear this up on my previous video as well. They don't double everything. They don't double the chance for something to happen and the effectiveness of that set effect. That got cleared up in the FAQ on the official Discord. So all it really does is if there's a percentage chance for something to happen, it will double that. If there's not a percentage chance for something to happen, it will double the effect. Easy to confuse. And the wording was quite ambiguous, I think, when I first read through it myself. So that's my bad. I'll put my hands up for that.
I've just been saying it's
ultimately,
15% damage when you're using RM's magic. That's just what I did. I just tell people
Yeah.
it's 15% more damage. Don't think about the other stuff.
That's a better way of looking at it. Just look at the overall like DPS increase the gloves give you, because that's ultimately what it's going to do. It's going to make all these Barrow sets better. Some of them benefit more than others. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts, because I've spoke a lot about this item both in the official video and in some of my own. So what do you think about the gloves?
Yeah, I think that even if all the sets aren't that strong, like if you can find 3 or 4 of them, that still feels really good. It's a lot of versatile armor. I think it makes Barrows kind of in that same level of like Asgarnia and Varlamore, where you're having like multi armor and that's very good. Armor is a little tougher to get.
Yeah, for sure.
Arms is good for the magic. I think Darox is going to be the most fun thing.
So
yeah, like Darox is going to be super, super fun to use. And then, I think some of the other ones like Guthans, I think that lifesteal effect, the overheal, it's going to be pretty cool. And I know Verax gives you a pretty huge prayer bonus, and there are some things that benefit from prayer. Even things like there's always been tasks that you have to get a certain prayer bonus, and that might help you kind of get that a little bit earlier than somebody else who might have to grind some like real late game gear.
For sure. I mean, I think the main thing people are going to look at here with these is Arim's, which is already quite a viable magic set since Project Rebalance. Now it's got magic damage. Now it's even more of a viable magic set just by itself. You can auto cast ancient magics with it. It's going to be more accurate, just better all around. But I think the main thing people are going to look at here is Darox with potentially a Berserker Relic. Again, don't know if that's going to be a thing, but Darox is going to be even heavy a hitter. So I think they're the main things. I'll be super honest about this item. I'm a little bit disappointed because I think it would have been great to just double everything and bring Barrows in line with some other late game gear. But I understand the reason for not doing that would be that it would just make so many other things almost not exciting as an upgrade, because you can get like access to Barrows and a full set of Barrows as early as you've got overhead prayers and an air staff. Now it's kind of like super early game.
Also, the Guardians are only 75 Slayer compared to like Cerberus at 91, and I think that's going to be kind of not like you are going to have to do the regular Grotesque Guardians to get the Echo drop to begin with, right?
Yeah,
might not have 91 for Cerb or 93 for Thermi. 75 is a lot lower, and I think you'll be able to start farming these guys earlier than you might expect. And I think that makes Barrow, or like I think it makes Mauritania a bit better as like an early game region, not just this like late game like powerhouse with Taub and Nightmare and all that stuff.
100%. 100%. That's how I saw it. Was, if you're one of those sadistic people who pick Mauritania first, this is going to feel pretty good now. Or again, if you're picking Mauritania kind of early on in your path and you want something to propel you into top or into those late game raids, this is going to be great with a set of Barrows. It's just not, in my opinion, as competitive a late game option as some of the other things. But that's also why the stats of this item are really good. I think I was looking at a few combinations, and just wearing the gloves on their own it's just great stat padding, isn't it? So they are good just by themselves, even if you don't get a set effect.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to complete Recipe for Disaster. So the only thing better would be like Ferocious Gloves. And these things are actually pretty well rounded too. Like they have decent stats. One more thing about this is that with the Arm set, you are able to autocast Ancients with the Arm Staff. This means that if you had Grimoire for the desert, you actually have a weapon to barrage during Theater of Blood, and I think that's going to really come in handy. Even if you're not like a mage build, just having some person who can like hit the Nilos is it's going to
Mm.
be nice compared to like what having to use like a Sang staff to try to clean up them. Like that's going to feel awful. So having barrage access and having something that can autocast is going to be nice.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. And it's a set effect that I think often gets overlooked because you need an Amulet of the Damned and a full set of Arams, and that is, 90% of your equipment slots. Now you're going to be able to do all of that with, just a full set of Arams and some gloves. So you've got your jewelry still open, you've got your boots still open. I think that's really cool. It opens up some opportunity for sure, doesn't it?
Yep, love it. Shall we move on to Kandarin?
Yeah, let's move on to. Oh, is it Kandrin next? I thought it was
Kandarin
Wildy on
next,
the
and
reveals.
oh, Wildy, you're right. You're right. It is Wildy.
Yeah,
Um,
but we can do Kandrin. I don't mind.
no. I just completely read it wrong. I'm so excited about Kandarin. No, Wildy. So we got the Thunder Kopesh. Is it Kofesh? Kopesh? We find
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah, I
then the
think it's just
Thousand Dragon
Kopesh,
Word. Yeah. So I like to think of the Thunder Kopesh as like a super Void Waker. That's how I've kind of been seeing it as. And then the
Yeah.
Thousand Dragon Word's like a super nice offhand. Pretty damn tanky. It's kind of like a better Avernic, but not as tanky as a Dragonfire Shield.
Yeah.
And I love these weapons. I feel like this alone, like, tripled the amount of people going to the Wildy. Like, just
Oh, for
insta
sure.
tripled it, yeah.
Yeah. I was one of those people. I wasn't counting Wildy out, but when you look at our original region ranking list, Wildy is low for a reason. And that just completely changed as soon as I saw these. I thought, okay, I'm gonna need to make a playthrough where I pick Wildy just for these items.
Yeah, I think the having a good offhand that's not based in Asgarnia is really cool. I
Mm.
don't know how much you've seen of like the damage numbers of the Kopesh, but it's looking to be
Yeah.
pretty much like the craziest damage in the game right now, like next to Scythe,
Yeah.
like pretty much right neck and neck with it. Obviously, combat masteries, all that stuff, but and even like the special attack and the passive effect where you're doing like the Void Waker spec, and then you have like the lightning AoE. That's gonna make like the multi cave or like the multi combat caves in the Wildy. I feel like you're just gonna like equip this thing, like turn on protection from prayer, and like just chill and slowly start
Yeah.
just
Easy.
eviscerating the pack.
Yeah, easy. Super easy. I mean, I guess it all depends on the difficulty of the KBD, right? So it's listed at elite difficulty. You don't need any Slayer requirements or anything to access this. So again, is this a boss you could do early? Or actually do the mechanics and the fact that you need, a good form of anti-fire protection mean that you have to unlock a few things first? So, how
Yeah.
accessible it's actually going to be early, I think is still up as a question. But the weapons themselves, you're right, they are insane. I did some, some builds with it with the crystal gear. So I really feel like Taraman and the Wildy here are crazy, and they out DPS the Scythe quite easy. So yeah, I think it's easy to look at this weapon and think like, oh, it's they've made the Void Waker redundant. I kind of get it in a way, but I think it's insane as just a standalone weapon as well. Stats are insane. Passive effect is crazy. It's got a special attack as well. Yeah, they really buffed Wildy this year.
I love it. I think Wildy's a really exciting place. I'm curious where it ends up in our region ranking. I won't spoil that just yet.
No.
Because I think maybe I'll halfway change my opinions as we talk. But yeah, I think Wildy's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really glad they're getting it. I'm kind of glad that they're getting two, honestly. I was a little jealous because I'm like, what, you get two? That's not fair.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Those Wildy fans are eating good today. And the other thing that we haven't spoke about, I guess, that I'll just mention briefly is, the Thousand Dragon Ward getting the status effect immunity. I think it's raised a lot of questions around how good if there is even a combat relic this year, for each style, how good will the melee one be? Because they pulled that out of what was previously in the melee relic and put that into the Thousand Dragon Ward, which is, again, a great win for the wilderness. But what does that mean for buffing melee this year? I guess we'll have to wait and see because it is still too early to tell. And yeah.
Yeah, pairs well with things
really
like a crossbow if you're doing Vorkath and stuff too. Like,
Yeah.
There's like I think full immunity status is very nice, and you'll be surprised how hard it is to get like anti-fires and venoms or anti-venoms and stuff like that in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, this thing is it's really cool.
Yeah. That was the kind of what I was getting at with the KBD difficulty is like, fair enough, there's no requirements and it's only elite difficulty as a boss, but it's going to venom you. The fire protection you need is more than just an anti-fire shield and pray mage. Like, you're going to need an actual potion for that. Yeah, it's definitely going to put a bit of a hurdle, or you're just going to kind of like struggle on by doing one kill and it taking ages. And yeah, we'll see. I'm really excited for the Wildy though.
Yep.
Right.
Awesome.
Let's move on.
Kandarin, the thermonuclear
Go for
smoke
it. You're
devil.
the Kandarin stand, so you go for it.
So yeah, I will do my best defense of this thing. So pretty much Devil's Element just buffs elemental weaknesses. It like just doubles the effect of them. And I think pretty much everybody agrees this thing is like the worst. It's like not even close. I want to say again, I think that the design of it's really cool. Like the offhand incense burner, it looks so cool. I just wish that the effect was a little bit more powerful, mainly because just not everything has an elemental weakness. Like the Kraken, for example, if it had an elemental weakness, I think this thing would be better. A lot of the Echo bosses do, so I think KBD has a elemental weakness. Serb has an elemental weakness. Raxor has one, but that's not an Echo boss. I'm probably missing a couple others, but basically, like, it is going to be pretty useful where it comes in handy, but it's not useful everywhere. And I think that's sort of why people aren't that interested in it, because it's not something I think you plan your build around. It's just something that kind of complements it and adds that little bit of a bonus.
I agree. I actually agree. And I think that if you're picking Kandarin as a skilling region, as a points region, because it may be insane for points this year, then this is a nice to have, because you're right, it's an offhand item, so it's not taking up any space that you wouldn't have for it. It pairs really well with the Fremenic jewelry, which we'll get onto next, and it pairs really well with other magic damage boosting items. So it's a great supplement, but like you say, it's really hard to make a build around this item. I think I did one in my builds video that was just like taking advantage of elemental weaknesses, but the amount of case uses once you've picked out regions to maximize that damage, they're actually quite few. So yeah, I love that they did something for elemental weaknesses, because again, capitalizing on any new game mechanics that they brought in as a result of Project Rebalance is a great idea. But the case uses in leagues where you're locked to certain regions just limits its like its viability entirely.
It would be, I think something like this, though, would be one of the coolest items to add as a super rare drop to the main game. It's probably the closest one, which might speak to its power level that it could transfer over to the main game. But I think it's more that it's situationally niche. I know that the biggest thing that I've seen about this is a melee build in Kandarin, because you are getting Piety, right? No guarantee that you're going to get Grimmy to get Piety for free, right? And this will help you anytime that you need magic. So the big one I was thinking about was Zulrah in Tyrannwyn, right? That sucks. You can't attack it with melee. It's completely immune to melee. Well, if you have this item, I feel like Zulrah's not going to feel that hard. Like, you're going to eviscerate with the fire weakness with whatever staff you have. You can bring a staff of fire and this offhand, and you'll rack up 250 KC of Zulrah in like a couple hours. Like, and for that reason, I think that this is not. It's not like awful. It's still worth considering. It's just you have to treat it as like a. Yeah, you have to treat it as like a supplement item, not try to plan your build around it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the fact that it's locked behind the Thermi as well, I genuinely think it's a bit of an oversight, because 93 Slayer is steep. Even in leagues, can take a little while to get there. And then for this to be the reward, you can easily look at it and think, oh, that feels bad. That feels bad, man. But I can see its good case uses. I can see the arguments for and against. I personally wouldn't build around it, especially when there's things like a shadow in the game. But yeah, it's that's Kandarin.
Yeah, have I ever shown you my my Thermi kills from Leagues 2? I thought
no,
you might like to see this. Let me see. I found this picture pretty recently. Oh yeah, let me see if I can. I'll send this to you in Discord real fast.
Yeah. I'm looking now.
Okay, one sec. Make sure I'm not leaking our DMs, But this is my Thermi. You might want to throw this up, okay? I'm almost excited to do Echo Thermi after this menace that I went through.
What the hell?
Yep. I need a dragon chain body. Was that
for a green log? Was that for the chain?
Nope, that was for the dragon chain body, because it was a task in Fremenic.
No.
I needed it. Yeah. 3,000 kills. It was rough. Oh, and there
Dude,
was no
that's
instance. So if
crazy.
somebody else was there, I would be hopping worlds
Yeah,
trying to find a free world, and then I would just sit there for 10 hours, not giving it up.
that's crazy. You know what that
Yep.
reminds me of? And mine's not nearly as bad, I don't think, but I think in Leagues, not in Leagues 2, because Leagues 2 Zaya wasn't a thing. In Shattered Relics, I think I had 1,200 Hydric AC for a claw.
Oof.
And that
Yikes.
felt really bad. You know, I spent like a whole week grinding that out for a claw. And then that was like maybe week 3 of leagues because this was like a second account. And at that point, everyone had stopped playing. And I was like, oh man, this just this just ruined my
Yep.
league's experience. Yeah, hopefully good RNG for us both this year.
Yep. I'm excited for it. All right. I'll get my revenge on Thermi, even though I might be a little burnt out. All right, Fremenic, yeah.
Yeah, I never feel.
Ooh, big one.
Yeah, Fremenic. Oh god, where do we start? Where do we start?
I
So
it's let's just go over the I feel like this is the only one we have to talk about the stats for because they are
yeah,
actually that good. And that's actually the only thing that's
yeah.
that matters about these.
Oh, 100%. So we get an amulet of the monarchs and the emperor ring. Oh, what do we say, man? These are just good in everything. 30 attack, plus 30 to all attack styles and defense styles on both the ring and the amulet. I mean, that by itself is crazy. But then that's not even the half of it, is it?
No, not at all. And remember, we talked about getting something tanky. I think if it was the
Mm.
attack, the defense stats, and the 10 prayer on each of these, this would
Oh,
still
yeah.
be a really good pick because
Yeah.
that's a lot of I know tankiness is like nobody really cares about it in leagues, but it is
Mhm.
important. Like it does help
Yeah.
you when you're wearing black D-hide at Tombs of a Mascot. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. You tend to jump into content you're not ready for in the main game, obviously, but with the power of leagues, with those defensive buffs, this is just going to be huge. And I don't know if it was you or someone else, but I remember seeing a comment of being like, you could half all of the attack and defensive styles on both of the ring and the amulet, keep the other bonuses, which we'll get onto in a sec, but you could half those main stats, and this would still be insane.
I think you can go further and half every single number on this thing, and I would still probably pick it. It's
Yeah.
that good. It is so strong.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And so the other bonuses it gives, obviously, it's going to give a lot of melee strength. The range strength it gives is crazy. That's like just the amulet, by the way, is double the range strength you get from a full set of Missouri,
Yep.
just from one amulet.
Anguish gives you 5. This gives you 15 on the amulet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Do you
so
know how
not
much
only is it
Venator
killed off
Ring
hand
gives
ring,
you, by the way?
how much what?
Do you know how much Venator Bow gives or Venator Ring gives you? It's 2 range
No, go on.
strength. 2 range strength for Venator Ring. That's your best in
That's
slot ring.
crazy.
And this is 15 range strength. Like
Mm,
it's a lot of range strength, and range strength is already probably the most valuable one because of how
yeah.
well it scales with fast weapons and
Yeah.
how ranged weapons are not really the important part. It's more about ammo and your gear.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy for range strength. The prayer bonus goes so well with builds we'll get onto later on, but 20 prayer bonus from these two things, crazy. And then the magic damage, I mean, it's a Kandarin killer, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, it's like pre-nerf occult necklace on top of a
yeah,
5% ring.
yeah.
Like
So there's not loads to say about Fremenic other than these pieces of jewelry go so well with anything you could possibly be cooking up that I almost feel like I'm trolling if I don't pick Fremy this league. You know?
I think the feeling about this is that like you never start with Fremenic, but if anybody ever if anybody asks you what should my third region be, the answer
Yeah.
right now is Fremenic. Like yeah.
Like if you've already locked in your starter region that you're going to use to boost yourself for points and tasks, if you've already locked in your late game region, like a raid region, and you don't know what to pick for your third, Fremy's the obvious choice.
Yeah, it's
You
like
know?
the best support region by a mile right now because of how good these are.
Yeah.
Now I will say though, this is a master level boss, so that's not like you're not going to be just picking these up as fast as you would an occult necklace in Kandarin, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, like you'll still I feel like you'll get these soon enough in your journey, and it's just going to be such a massive part of your power that I'm having a really hard time like passing up on this because it just feels so good.
Same, honestly, same. Like, I don't, I don't love the content in Fremi. I've done loads of Vorkath in the main game, like in when it first came out, and I don't love Duke either. Muspa I actually quite enjoy, but like generally speaking, I don't love the content there, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it because this jewelry is that crazy.
I do think melee can pass up on it a little bit easier because they have other options.
Mm.
Like even I think like an amulet of strength is like 10 melee strength, right? Like that's a
Yeah.
chanted ruby amulet. So I think if you're melee, you probably don't need to like worry about this too much. I think for magic and ranged, it's a pretty significant amount of power that you're missing. I mean, 15% tripled by shadow. That's 45% magic damage. Like you're literally like capping this. You're almost gonna cap out the shadow with gear like this and a couple other regions. Yeah.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, if you're going down a shadow build, you have to pick this. It's just that good.
Shadow and TOA is you only need 25%, which gets quadrupled, and this gives you 15% alone. So that's kind of cool. I guess
we're gonna see even.
Or we'll talk about this later. Actually, I just realized it's a later subject. It's a later reveal, but that doesn't
I think I know what you're gonna say.
That later. Yeah,
exactly. I was gonna come on to that as well and talk about like we'll get onto that.
We'll get onto that. Yeah. So
yeah, let's move on to Taramwin because we still have 3 regions.
One more thing about Fremenic. I think that this was actually a cruel joke by the mods. They add all these cool weapons and then they just add these huge stat sticks to Fremenic. And because like the little like symbol monkey in my brain is just like clapping right now because I'm like, oh yay, that big numbers. Like I'm gonna go for this region. Like, oh, suddenly Fremenic doesn't sound so bad anymore. I actually like the content there just because I see the big number. And god damn it, I will do. I'm like Frodo, you know, like at the Mount Doom right now. I'm like, no, I want this. This is my ring, okay? I'm getting the ring.
Yeah. So when I think I can say this, but when I first got to see all of these, obviously some of them underwent some changes. And I was fully expected this to be one of the items that would undergo some changes between reveal and launch because of how crazy they are. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So yeah, these, you know, exactly the same as you. You know, I'm just sat there looking at these big numbers and thinking like, despite all of the cool new items in the game, stats, you know, stats. So yeah, I'm with you.
All right.
Taramwin. I don't know how to pronounce that, by the way. Some people were bashing my pronunciation of it. How are you meant to pronounce this region?
I think I changed my Sometimes I'll like do like 3 different pronunciations. Like I'll say Sol Heredit and then Sol Heredit because that way I like.
Oh, I do that.
You know, I like play both sides. You know, so I always people can like be like, oh, okay, he said it right. That he just misspoke that time. You know what I mean? That's my strategy there.
That's smart. That is smart. No idea how to pronounce it, but Taramwin. Yeah, we're getting the Crystal Blessing from the Hunlef. So this one's kind of cool. I'll get onto what it does in just a sec, but you'll have to do the Corrupted Gauntlet. It won't. So to get the Echo Orb to fight Echo Hunlef, you'll have to do the Corrupted Gauntlet. You can't do the regular one, which I think is fair enough in a league because the Corrupted one becomes as easy as the regular one once you've, you know, got all your league's power. But I know that alone is scaring some people, especially considering Echo Hunlef is master difficulty. What I will say is that I think you'll be surprised with, you know, how well you can do against this boss and how accessible it is early. But yeah, what do you think about the Crystal Blessing? Tell us about the item and what you think.
Yeah, so real quick, I want to add one more thing on Hunlef, and that's if you are scared about it, don't forget that Echo Hunlef, you won't have to do the prep phase. So even if you're not skilled at Hunlef, you're not spending 5-6 minutes. You can just beat your head down at this boss. And I know I suck at Hunlef. It is my worst boss. I almost want to pick this just to get like the super like hyperbolic time chamber practice on this boss where I could just run it over and over and over again. But yeah, let's talk about the Crystal Blessing. Basically what this does is while you are wearing the crystal armor set, you do have to wear you don't have to wear all 3 pieces, but when you're wearing the crystal armor set, that bonus will also affect all melee weapons. And that's a 30% accuracy, 15% damage when you're wearing all 3. You can drop one, you'll lose a little bit. I don't know the exact numbers, but that's what you should think about it. It's a very powerful melee armor set that will work with any weapon.
Yeah. Any melee weapon.
Any melee weapon, sorry. Any melee weapon, just to clarify.
Yeah, and also, you know, works with the Bofa. So
and works for Bofa too, right.
Yeah, so you've instantly got some hybrid capability there for your off-style. Bofa is just insane on its own, isn't it? But there's so many cool weapons, man. Like what tell me, because I've had loads of time to think about this since I did the video, but tell me, what were your first impressions? Like, what items were you thinking to pair with this?
I mainly started to think about like okay, first off, I didn't think it would be that good. I saw this and I
Yeah.
was like, I mean, it's a crystal like okay, like you're getting the crystal armor set effect. And then
Yeah.
people started doing the math and I started seeing that
Yeah.
like this is just the best melee armor in the game now. Like you
Yeah.
with a scythe, I think this beats everything. Yeah, like
Yeah.
and that was like I was like, oh, I guess big numbers are good. I guess that is quite a bit of damage. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that this is going to be a very competitive option. Again, I really like the idea of a lot of different regions giving you a strong armor piece, and the fact that
Mm.
it does work with Bofa too, with like basically like a one-way swap at that point, right? Like you just
Yeah.
swap to Bofa and you're good. Yeah, I think this is going to be like I think the turn one's going to be really really fun. I'm still a little bit worried about Zulrah because Zulrah is immune to melee. I don't know if you'll be able to like even yeah, I don't know how you're going to do that as melee. I think you have to have an answer to that. But I think the Crystal
Mm.
Blessing is going to bring so many people to Tyrannwyn. I think this is going to be a very hot region in
Yeah.
Leagues 5.
100%. And do you remember when we first did our region tier list and Mod Husky was calling us out in the Discord saying, like, how dare you rank
That's not
Taranwin that
fair.
low?
He knew. He knew more than we
He
did.
knew. He knew. And at that point, I didn't know. And boy, do I feel like, if I could change it, which we will get onto later, Taranwin's definitely moving up. The numbers, like you say, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, fair enough, you can apply it to a fair few weapons, but like, what does it actually look like? And soon as we got that Gearscape DPS calculator up and running with the Crystal Blessing and the Crystal Armor sets, yeah, the maths wasn't lying. This goes crazy, and I think my favorite thing to pair it with, actually, besides the obvious things like the Scythe, the Soul Reaper axe, and I spoke about this plenty in my builds video, is the Thunder Kopesh.
Ooh, right,
Um,
right.
because it has a 20% chance to summon lightning on successful hit. So more accuracy, more lightning, more damage on the lightning, etc. So yeah, it's really cool how it pairs with some of the other items around the game, like the echo items. Um, a lot of people aren't happy that you have to wear, crystal armor though. What do you think
I
about that?
no, I think that's kind of I think that's what makes it good is that you're getting a melee armor set without having to go to Asgarnia, which had Bandos and Torva, right? And
Mm.
then like if you go to TOB or sorry, if you go to Mortania, like yeah, you can get Inquisitor and like it's kind of hard to get Inquisitor. It's a pretty rare set of armor. I
Mm.
think something like Crystal is way easier to get.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we'll talk about this. I mean, this is a big reason why I like Varl more too, is because you're getting all those different armor pieces, and I think that that's perfectly fine. If you could combine it with everything else, they would just have to like change the set effect, right? And also keep in mind you can change the color of your crystal armor. That's cool as that. You get like transmog on your gear. That's like what? How
Yeah.
are you upset about that? It's not like everybody's gonna be running around with like the light blue effect. Like I'm gonna be
Yeah.
repping Heffen Red. That's my clan, my elf clan.
Nice.
So
Nice. I'm gonna be going. I like the black. I like the black crystal
black is
set, but
so
I know that's a
good.
very basic answer.
Nah,
I just
black is
like the
cool.
black. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that, honestly. So hey, at least you can look a little bit different from the hundred of new Taranwin recruits this year. Super cool looking region though. Not much more to say on it for now. I think
It
it'll be
will
cool
also
to
make
see.
it will make
Go
I
go
think
for it.
Bofa. I think this will make Bofa grind and the Blade of Sildar grind way faster because if you can do Echo Hunlift, you'll skip the prep, and
Mm.
that's gonna be pretty huge. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely is. And like it's a byproduct for the thing that you're actually going for, isn't it? The crystal blessing. If you're farming the crystal blessing, you don't have an enhanced yet, and then you do get that. Congrats. You've just two birds with one stone kind of deal. So that's really cool.
Yep.
Right, moving on to Zaya. Honestly, I think this might be my favorite thing in leagues, just because of like I feel like the meme score on this item is like 10 out of 10.
Have you heard the
Do you
names for so it's called the Nature's Reprisal. Have you heard like some of the nicknames people are going with?
I call it the tree trumpet, but what do you call it?
Yeah, I've been calling it the trumpet because it literally looks like a big like brass instrument that you're
Yeah,
like shooting out of. It's
it
so
does.
cool.
Yeah. I love that. Do you want to explain it then? Because I
Yeah.
just love that it's Hispori, by the way, but go for it.
Yeah, so the best way to think about this is it's a super salamander. It has a magic, a ranged, and a melee option in your attack styles, and the melee does attack from range. Now, we don't know if that works for things like Zulrah, which is technically immune to melee, but I have seen some people speculating that you'll be able to do like melee Zuck. You just can't attack from like the super far safe tiles. So
He's also immune to melee though, isn't he?
is
So
he
again,
is
it's
he
going to
immune
be
to
like,
melee? I don't. Is
yeah,
that true? Has anybody attacked him with melee before?
I'm pretty sure he is. I can
Oh
double check
yeah,
now,
I
but
feel like
like,
that's the weird thing because nobody's tested
yeah.
it. There's no halberd that reaches that long, so
Oh,
um,
I guess not.
it will be
Um,
it'll be interesting for sure. I think having a melee option that attacks from far away though is something that I've asked for like kind of a while. It's something I really
mm,
wanted from leagues.
mm,
It's going to make things like melee inferno, melee fight caves easier. Those are pretty big combat achievements to get, and they can be
yeah.
kind of a pain. Um, and I just think that having all three styles from a what I believe is going to be a relatively easy boss is going to just be I think it's just going to be so massive for everybody. Like I really feel like you could get this item and just start doing Chambers of Zarek, and
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's what we spoke about as soon as we saw this, wasn't it? Was like how accessible this might be for not only getting in and fighting Echo Hespori pretty quickly, because this is one of the Echo bosses that gives you a guaranteed orb. So, your first Hespori, you beat it, you get the orb, you can jump straight into Echo Hespori. Um, People will look at the stats and say it's a bad item, and I don't think they're looking at this the right way, because you can, like you've just said there, you might be able to get this item pretty early. A 4-tick ranged melee weapon that can do all three styles. You could jump straight into Chambers of Zarek. You could tackle your late game content or do whatever you need to do now around the mid game with ease. So I think you need to look at it that way. Anyone who's looking at this and thinking like it sucks. And actually, all you need to do is pair this with a few other things to make it really strong as well. We just spoke about Taramwin. Um, I really like the idea of pairing the Crystal Arm and the Crystal Blessing with the melee
It will
Nature's
work, yeah.
Reprisal.
It will work
So that's
with
super
that
cool.
and with special attacks of melee weapons too. So
Super cool.
Mhm.
Super cool. Love this
Um,
item.
I want to make one correction. I think it's 5-tick when you're on melee and
Oh, is
magic,
it?
4-tick with ranged. Yeah.
Oh, is it? I
Um,
thought it was just a universal 5 and 4. So is it different per style?
or I think it's 5, and then when you're on rapid with ranged, it goes to 4 basically.
Right. That makes
Yeah.
sense. I guess that
So
makes sense. Yeah.
and like again, looking at it, is it worse than something like Bofa with crystal armor? I think it is. Like the stats aren't insane, but not only will you be able to access Hespori pretty early, but once you've gotten the Echo Orb on your first Hespori plant, you can keep killing this thing without needing to plant more seeds. You just keep farming Hespori, 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 Hespori. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, do I think that this thing, like, let's say Bofa is better, right? Well, Bofa is a grind. That's going to take you some time. You might be able to get this faster than Bofa, and you're essentially grinding 3 like entry raid weapons in one.
Yeah.
And I don't think people understand that this is like it's putting 3 grinds into one: a magic, a melee, and a range swap.
Yeah.
Have you ever done like TOA when your range is like you're using like a rune crossbow and it's like
Yeah. It
holy
sucks.
moly, half of Wardeds is just trying to get through that one phase.
Yeah.
So
Or like the other way around with melee was like, for me, the Toa experience in Leagues 4 was when I got to Akka, I would just have to pray that my whip would actually hit. Like I just prayed, man. It was so painful. So this just makes all of that easier. It's so good. So good for that.
yep, I think it's awesome. I like that there's early game and late game options. There's like a nice little
Mhm.
blend there. I guess speaking of end game, right? We got the big
Oh,
boy.
okay, yeah. 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 So let's move on to Valamor. We got Soul
Yep.
Heredit. Honestly, my mind was blown when I saw this because I thought they've got to be trolling. Like this is this is scary for a lot of people.
I don't think anybody predicted this. Like I don't
No,
think anybody
really. You think
really
it was
thought
zero?
that this. Yeah.
I remember speaking with Hootie because Hootie did a poll, didn't he, in the official league's Discord of guess the Echo boss reward, and I think he said to me that very few single-digit numbers of people guessed Hespori and Soul Heredit. I think they were the fewest like guesses. So yeah, this one caught everyone by surprise.
Yeah. Man, I think that to me right now, I know with literally if this was the only announcement for leagues, I would say with absolute certainty, I will be going to Varlamore at some point in the next 8 weeks of leagues. Like I will be going there and I will be fighting this boss and I will get, my shit wrecked in. Like I will die to this boss and I'll have the funnest
Same.
time doing it because
Yeah.
not only do you like, okay, first off, Soul is just the coolest boss in the entire game. Like straight up, he just is. Like this is not even an opinion; it's just fact.
I
He's
love
super
the
cool.
design. I love the design of this boss.
And once you do the waves one time, you'll have the Echo variant of Soul, and you can just do Soul or just do Echo Soul, which means like you can spam this boss over and over again. And I don't care about leagues points. I don't care about rankings. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just want to fight Soul all day. This guy is so cool. And man, the weapons are cool too. Like
they're so cool. Before we get onto the weapons, because I see a lot of comments in the official Discord, on my videos, and I think on other people's videos, that people who were once considering Varlamore are thinking like, oh, I'm not going to pick it now because this is genuinely just too big a challenge. What I'll say to that is exactly on the lines of what you've just said. Because once you've done the Colosseum once, which really won't be that hard with League's power, by the way, you will get there eventually. I'm confident you do it enough times, you'll do it. Jumping straight into the fight with Soul, similar to the Hunlif. Even if you think you suck at it, do it enough times, I guarantee you'll do it. I guarantee eventually you will get it down. Will you die a ton of times beforehand? Sure, but I feel like that's just part of the experience anyway. Don't be put off picking Varlamore because Soul is a Grandmaster level difficulty Echo boss. I think it's going to be so rewarding to do it.
Well, and I'll also just think about that from like, let's say you haven't done the Colosseum in the main game, right? First time I did Inferno was Shattered Relics leaks. And a big reason why I was able to do the Inferno was because I got practice at Zuck and at Triple Jads in leagues. And like that doesn't really change that much, honestly. Like Zuck still one-shots you if you make a mistake and move out.
Yeah.
But when I did Inferno in the main game, I kind of had that confidence where my hands weren't like shaking like, I mean, they were still shaking a lot, but I wasn't like completely freaking out because I had seen the boss before and I had that confidence. And I think that like if using this as like an opportunity to practice Soul, to me is almost like, imagine there was just a Zuck fighter in League, so you could just fight Zuck over and over again and just get so good at that fight without having to commit an hour to doing the waves. That's a really good tool. You will get through the waves, I guarantee it. Like it's only 11 waves. You'll sometimes just get lucky and they'll just figure themselves out for you. And once you can practice this boss, I also like, again, do I know what this boss could be? It's a Grandmaster one. I have no clue, but I don't think it's going to be like unimaginable levels, you know? Although I do think it would be really cool if it spawned a Jad halfway through, like Zuck did.
God damn it. No, please don't do that.
Please do it. Just every mechanic you have, erase it right now and just throw a Jad in there halfway through.
Damn, I have no idea. Even if they threw in some of like the really like max horrible, you know, Colosseum invocation type things, like if there's a Doom Scorpion just in there with you and like all the other things that you really wouldn't traditionally pick, but they just like make you have. I still think you're going to be able to do this eventually. And you just mentioned it there. Compared to Zuck, actually, Soul is forgiving. Like he does not one-shot you. Maybe Grandmaster Soul will. I don't know. But Soul is a pretty forgiving fight. You can make a few mistakes and recover. So don't be put off by the difficulty.
Well, he'll one-shot you like your first like three or four times you're in there. He'll just like straight up kill you in like 2 or 3 hits. But once you kind of find the rhythm, because there's a little dance with Soul, and once you start dancing with him, you'll kind of realize it's a very cool fight. And I don't know. I think this is going to be really good practice for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are discounting Soul. But one more thing that I kind of want to talk about is like, even with these Grandmaster level things, right? I don't think this is going to be unimaginably like, it's not going to be Awakened Desert Treasure 2 bosses. I think they explicitly said it's not going to feel like that, right? At least relative to what the main game would be.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be able to kind of progress this at your own rate. There will be some people who are doing this guy. Like, I think Wooks will be doing this with like a rune crossbow on day 2 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they'll find a way. All right. Even if you can't do that, even if that's too hard for you the first time you get in here, once you get those final combat relics, you know, combat masteries, I think they said that they wanted to feel more like progressive, like you're kind of getting power level. By the time you got your mega rares and stuff like that, I think Soul is still going to be pretty easy to do. With all the League's powers. You just maybe not right away. Like maybe don't go to this guy and farm him as your first thing, but when you're fully stacked up, this will be that end game challenge of Leagues that I think a lot of people actually need. They need an end game like aspirational goal to like keep going for.
Totally agree. And I think that a lot of people might be getting ahead of themselves as well when it comes to Echo bosses. I don't think, other than people who are genuinely very good at PVM, I don't think you're going to be jumping into Echo bosses when you've only got your first region unlocked. So if you're one of those people who are thinking, I'm going to pick Varlamore, I was going to pick Varlamore first, but now I'm not sure because of Echo Soul. It's like, just chill. You've got 2 other regions. You're probably going to unlock at least 2 regions before you jump into your first Echo boss fight. So just pick another region that has an Echo boss that you can access earlier, if that's the case. Come back to Soul later. Yeah, I think that's the main thing I wanted to get across. But he's got 2 items. Should we jump into those?
Yes, let's talk about them.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
They're so cool. Love these. I think they're, other than the Nature's Reprisal, these are just my favorite. The Sunlight Spear is the first one. It's a 2-handed weapon. Super cool, first of all, that these are his weapons. So his spear, his shield. Really cool stats on this item. It is a stab weapon, and it does have a lot of just good base stats. But that isn't what this weapon's about, is it? This is a special attacking weapon. There's a big AoE slam. Hits all the NPCs around you in like 3 tiles. And the damage on it is based off your prayer bonus. So for every point of prayer bonus you have, you get 3% bonus damage on the spec. That's pretty crazy in of itself.
Yeah, also that 3 tiles looks...
first? Yeah,
the 3 tiles looks kind of small with the special attack, but it's 3 in each direction. So it's like a 6x6 around you.
Yeah.
It is typeless damage, which means if you're doing Nilo's room in Theater of Blood, you can slam the ground and just clear the whole Nilo's room. That alone is very appealing. I don't think you can clear the whole room, but like you'll clear a corner with it. And also the special attack, if you look at it, it's not actually it's not a real special attack. It's like a Soul Reaper Axe. It's its own stacking special attack, which means you'll actually be able to go use other special attacks, maybe the Dog Sword, maybe whatever else you have, and then swap to this, keep attacking, build the stuff. I also think that you could probably use this to like get up to 20 stacks. Then you hit like a hard part of a boss, right? And then you just boom, 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 slam 3 specs, and it just nukes like all the hard. It's almost like an executioner there because you get to save all that power. Yeah. Oh, and it stacks with prayer, which I think is so cool to have like a like can you imagine people like swapping like 8-way prayer swap just to do the special attack or something? Like 3 special attacks, 8-way prayer swap, and then you go back. Like
it's such a simple concept. I'm really surprised it's not in the main game already.
Oh yeah, I saw this and I was like, wait, why is this not the Coliseum reward? I like, hey, give me this in the real game.
Yeah. I genuinely was surprised. I saw it and I thought, this is so good. I love the design. I love the weapon. I love its special effect. I did run it through some DPS calcs, and it's actually super impressive when you max out your prayer bonus. Don't get me wrong, that's not an easy thing to do. You know, you're going to need to pick very specific regions, and it's going to take a while to get everything. But the potential of that like meme prayer build, the priest build, so cool, so cool.
Yeah, I think of this as like it's almost like you don't plan around having this. You don't think about it. It's just a nice little treat that like it's like cool. It's
you say that
fun weapon.
You say that, but my first League playthrough is this. This is what I'm going for. I'm going for the max kind of like priest build with this. But you're right. You're not going to try and shoot for that straight away, are you? Because it's going to take so long. You have to kind of play around your regions more tactically in like the early game, and then maybe look to go for this later.
I've seen some people calling it a cleric build too.
Cleric,
like the priest with
idea.
like so that one's pretty cool. I hope that catches on. I really am excited for this thing. I have a good feeling about it. I don't think because I think the numbers alone don't look that good, but I would be shocked if this thing doesn't end up being incredibly fun to use.
For sure. If anything, it'll make a great thumbnail when that eventually comes around. You know.
Yeah.
We'll see. Okay, the second item is the Sunlit Bracers, and these are a glove slot item. They actually give really good all-round stats, actually. So defensively, offensively, attack and defense bonuses are pretty generous. But the main thing is that while wearing the gloves, all healing received, like universal, all healing received is doubled. Super cool. Super flexible. And it's additive with other modifiers. So I'm guessing for when we're talking about things like Blood Barrage, they kind of like add together. This can lead to some crazy heals though, right?
Yeah, this is pretty... I mean, just straight up doubling it is just nuts. Even with something like a shark, right? It's 20 to 40, right? You eat a shark Karambwa and you're combo eating like 76, I think. Basically, every mistake you ever make in any PVM, you just combo eat. You're good.
Yeah.
If you triple eat with a Saradomin Brew, you're like going way above 100. I don't know. It's like this thing is awesome. Also, if any kind of lifesteal comes back, you got the Blood Fury over in Mauritania. Things like that are gonna go really well with this, and
Mhm.
I think it's just a nice little bonus on top of the Sunlight Spear combo.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they can go pretty well together. Like you say, if you do pair it with like a Blood Fury, it's going to go well. For food, it's great. I think the fact it's with the Varlamore region is really nice as well because some of the hunter food heals more than
Oh,
anything in the game. Um,
including the bonus. The bonus part would also give you. That's actually
yeah,
kind of
so
sweet.
so like one piece of Moonlight antler meat would heal. I mean, I can't remember how much does it heal overall. Is it like
I
26
think it's like
or more?
26. Yeah, there's like a delay
26?
part to it, but I think it's like 26
Yeah,
or something like that. It's pretty strong.
yeah. So like one piece of food, as long as you don't like need it as an emergency, it's going to heal so much. It's going to like stretch out your healing for and supplies for so much longer. I do think the issue with this item is that it's a super nice piece of utility that's locked behind potentially the hardest challenge in Leagues 5. So like a
Yeah,
lot of people saying that it would be nice to have here or there or wherever. It's like realistically, by the time you get this, you're probably not that bothered about the healing. It's just going to be a nice to have, you know?
I think something like this is like I would expect something like this from like Grotesque Guardians. You know, an early game
Yeah.
big life stealing bonus. I just feel
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where like it's so strong, but it just I feel like it's going to come in way too late to really be
Yeah.
that much value. And like when you're strong
Yeah.
enough to not just kill Echo Soul, but actually like farm him enough to hit the drop rate. We don't know what the drop rates are, but I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be
Exactly.
100% guaranteed. I just don't know if it's gonna like push it over the edge of being like, oh wow, I really really want this, so that once I kill every boss in the game, then I get now I can live even more in all these fights. Like yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. That's the point I've been making pretty much from the get-go when it comes to like a lot of the vamp builds around this item. It's like, yeah, they're all great, but actually by the time you've got this item, you're probably not bothered about a vamp build. Like you've got everything you need to take on anything. So a bit of a shame. But we'll see. You never know. Drop rates might be really generous,
It
like you
might be,
say.
yeah, it might be like
Mm,
100% or something for the
yeah.
honestly. And I think that if that was the case, you have to do Soul one time, then you kill Echo Soul one time, and you get this. Like
Mm,
that might change my opinion quite a bit
yeah.
because maybe I will
Massively.
just try to
Same.
brute force it one time, get it, and then
Yeah.
go do other stuff.
Same here. So I'm sure, the J mods are really cooking with everything so far. Maybe that's something they've considered.
Yep.
Right. That I mean that was all the echo bosses and the items. It was a pretty big reveal. Definitely I think changed a lot of people's plans. But yeah. Should we
Yeah,
move
it's
on?
fun to chat about. Yep. Well, let's do real quick. What's your favorite of the whole list?
Oh, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna say the Nature's Reprisal.
Nature's Reprisal.
Yeah, what about
Yeah.
you?
Um. I, well, I think the Dragor. I think a Dragor blowpipe is going to be really fun to
Yeah,
use. Yeah. That's.
yeah.
I mean, we kind of said it, but yeah, I think I'm very much in that boat. All right. Cool.
Cool.
Well, we got some more reveals. Shall we continue?
Yeah, yeah. Take us on to the Grimmy.
Okay, Grimmy. So we got the super simple effect, basically. Arcane Grimoire, or I wish it was called the Gillinor Grimoire, so we had GG, and
Oh,
then
that would have
Golden
been
God
cool.
was GG. But
Yeah.
Arcane Grimoire, basically, this allows you to swap between all the spell books, acts as a Book of the Dead, but most importantly, it unlocks all of the spell books and all of the spells, regardless of any restrictions. I think you still need the magic level, so and you can't cast like Camelot Teleport if you don't have Kandarin. But it
Yeah.
also gives you all the spells, all the spell books,
Yeah.
all of the prayers.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That's big. That is big.
That's a big one, honestly. When this was first teased, obviously they had to add more in from the previous leagues, right? Because the Arcane Grimoire has been in previous leagues. Just that all it's really done before is swap spell books. And you could carry it with you and swap anytime. The fact that this now opens up more region flexibility. You don't need Kandarin for Piety anymore. You don't need Zaya for Rigor or Augury anymore. And you don't need the Desert for Ancient Magics. You don't need Fremenic for Lunas. It opens up a lot of flexibility, doesn't it? And I think until we know what this is paired against, this just feels so nice for Leagues 5. It's almost giving people who feel hard done by their region choices another way out of their restrictions.
Yeah, I totally agree with you that like this is something that is impossible to rate in isolation, just like so many of these like
Yeah.
standalone relics.
Mm.
I know that a lot of people initially looked at this and were like, "Oh, this is kind of lame. You're removing some of like the region restrictions. Like, isn't that what makes these regions cool?" But you have to
Yeah.
realize that you're giving up a relic in place of that. Last year,
Yeah.
Ruinous Powers, which I think is the closest equivalent to this, that competed against Farmer's Fortune,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Farmer's Fortune blew it away.
Yeah.
So, before you're like dead set on picking this thing, just understand like this is going to come at the cost of a possibly other stronger relic. But I like these relics that the strength of them is that it almost frees up a region slot that you feel is like so important for you, for like whether that's a prayer, whether that's a certain spell book. I love that you can get ancients without the desert now. I
Yeah.
think that's gonna
Yeah.
make, like, to me that made like Mage and Mauritania like so much cooler. It's like,
Yeah.
dude,
Absolutely.
I don't want to go the desert anymore. Yeah, and even if you're like melee in Mauritania, just having freezes for Theater of Blood is gonna be good. Like it's gonna be nice.
Yeah.
So I like this thing a lot. I think it's really cool. I like not having specific regions that feel sort of like auto completed for you, that you kind of
Mm.
have to path through for like specific things.
Mm.
And they've done such a good job this year of opening up a lot of like options. You can kind of go whatever you want, I think.
Yeah, I think the only thing that this, so I get where whoever said made that comment to you, I get where they're coming from, because I suppose this was the first thing that started the whole Kanda bin thing. Kandarin in the bin. Kandarin is dying region this year. I mean, we'll see. Things
I think
could change.
we got the Echo Boss too, which was pretty disappointing for people.
The
But
Echo Boss, the
this
Echo
was
Boss
like nail
reward,
in the
yeah.
coffin, It was like Kandarin's dead and now it's like buried like 12 feet under, right?
Yeah, because I mean, melee builds historically, like you really don't want to pick Kandarin. The Amulet of Torture and Piety just felt like such a boost, though. That again, it just felt like when you were picking Mage for Kandarin, it's like I'm only picking this region for the couple of things I want to boost my build. Otherwise, I don't want it. And this just gives you another way around that. So I get where that person's coming from, whoever made that comment about like, is this taking away from the restriction element of leagues? Like, yes, obviously it kind of is, but I actually think that it's more of a positive than it is a negative.
And also, if we are going to go with the region restriction like format moving forward, I think that this is necessary. Like,
Yeah.
I honestly thought that we should just get all the prayers by default, and I kind of like this better, like
Mm.
because it's a relic choice. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe we can go back. Maybe eventually that will change. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think having all the prayers, all the spell books, very cool effect.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna say right now is I know a lot of people right now are like, oh, sick, I don't have to go Kandarin. When you see what this is up against, I have no idea
Yeah.
what it is, but I guarantee you half of you melee users are running straight back to Kandarin, okay? I'm just saying it.
Unfortunately.
Or you're gonna
I
just
agree.
have to say goodnight to Piety, all right? So
Yeah, unfortunately, I agree. I mean, I think on the wiki it was paired next to, what was it paired next to on the wiki? And I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, is that what it's up against?" But yeah, no shot. We still don't know what it's up against. It's going to be something. It's got to be something equally as eye-opening utility-wise. What tier do you reckon this would come in at, though?
I'm thinking this is gonna be like a tier 4 or something, because I don't think we're gonna get combat relics in like the main thing. I think it said there's only one tier of combat relics. But I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be around like 4. I guess my guess here, and this actually segues to the next thing, is like we got the harvest at tier 1, teleport at tier 2, probably. I think Golden God feels like it's going to go in 3. It's like that economy one, similar to Fire
It can't
Sale.
come in too late, can it? Because I feel like at
No.
that point, yeah. So
And I
I
think
agree with you.
this at like tier 4, I think Ruinous Powers was a tier 6 relic, so that would
Yeah.
already be a lot earlier. I think this at like tier 4, tier 5 maybe.
Yeah,
That's where
I
I'm
think if
expecting it.
we're going by the whole crack theory, which I don't think I've ever bought in, but at the
Nope.
same time, I didn't pay much attention to it. This would be a tier 5 relic, if I'm looking at these cracks correctly. But I don't know how much truth there is to that theory. I might be totally wrong. Someone will have to actually tell me if it was accurate for League 4.
It's probably something I think you get like day 2 or well, it depends on how much you play, I guess. But probably like when you're about in your second region, about halfway to your third region is where I would guess. Yeah, that's roughly where I think you're going to get this.
Yeah. Really cool thing to have, though. Love that if they do something similar for it to be up against, but we don't know what that is yet. So let's move on, because the next one is huge.
Next one's pretty big, yeah.
Huge. So the next one is, I think they just titled it Combo Item Drops. And essentially, there's a big infographic that will probably do this more justice than me explaining it. But essentially, what is happening for Leagues 5 is a lot of bosses that drop component pieces for items will now just drop those items in full, um, which is crazy. Do you think you can do a better job at explaining that than me, or does that about
I
summarize
think
it?
the best way is to show an example. For example, like I
Mm.
think for example, but like a great is Mauritania, right? We just saw Araxor added, and that gives you the Amulet of Rancor. However, in the main game, because of the restrictions of a main game economy, you also need the Amulet of Torture, and then you upgrade it. Now Araxor just drops the Amulet of Rancor, and that's like basically best in slot melee outside of the Fremnik echoes. Avernic Hilt, that's an Avernic Defender. Dragon Hunter Lance from Alchemical Hydra, that or it's not the claw anymore, it's just the Dragon Hunter Lance. It also drops Ferocious Gloves. Basically all of the items that are unusable without their component piece drops as the full. So this means some things
Yeah.
like Masori from the desert, you're not going to get the fortified version because you can use regular Masori, but like a Magic Fang from Zelra, that's useless unless you have a Trident or Staff of the Dead, but I don't think they talked about that. But you'll get a
Mm.
Trident just from Zulrah, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
That's a
And we
big
could
one.
go like there's a lot of them. I don't think we need to talk about all of them. Maybe just a
No.
couple standouts.
Yeah.
But
Do you want to know what my favorite standout is actually? And it's probably not one most people have thought about, but Musper dropping just an ancient scepter actually opens up a lot of viability for like a blood barrage type build if you pair it with the Grimoire relic that we just spoke about. You no longer need the desert for either ancient magics or an ancient staff in the first place, and I think that's really cool. But there are so many other big examples. What do you think is one of the biggest ones for you?
so I have two, but I think we should talk about the Desert Treasure 2 rings because that is awesome. And
Of
I was
course,
actually going to
yeah.
make a video
Yeah.
complaining about Fremenic, and then the next day they dropped the rings. That
Yeah.
all the Desert Treasure
Yeah.
2 bosses, which they don't require the desert to access, and they'll drop the rings. You don't need the Fremenic to upgrade that ring. For
Yeah.
me, this makes Vardorvis with the Ultor ring just awesome,
Yeah.
right? A lot of people are also going to go with like Mauritania for the Rancor, and I think those two pieces are so strong that in a lot of ways, I think you don't really need Fremenic as much anymore
Yeah.
with
No.
melee. And I think it
Yeah.
makes Varlamore melee super appealing. I don't think I'm gonna go Fremenic if I'm going like if I thought about melee, I think I would easily skip
You can go
Fremenic and
VAM
just
now,
go.
can't you? So
Yeah,
like
you go like
people are
VAM or
picking VAM
something
for
like
that. Yeah.
that. Like there's a lot of cool stuff I think you can do. Or like even VWM, you go Varlamore
Yeah.
Wildy Mauritania.
Sure.
Like that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Hard to read when you have like VWM. It's like hard to read those
Yeah.
letters. But yeah, what do you think about the Treasure 2 rings? What is that?
I really like it. I do think that the only style that it really forgives itself for is melee, because as you've already said earlier in this video, the archer ring, the upgraded
Yeah,
archer's ring,
Venator ring.
yeah, the Venator ring barely gives you any bonuses. The ring that you get from the Whisperer is, in my opinion, kind of crappy anyway. And the magic ring you get from Fremi anyway.
Yeah.
So
you get it from
like,
Duke.
what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, what's the point? So I guess the only one for me that this makes a big difference on, as you've already said, is melee. And I think for that reason, melee's looking really good this year for flexibility. You know, it's probably the only style that you don't feel bad for not picking Fremenic. So
Oddly
I
enough, it
think
would be
that's a good one.
it would be like really cool for me if actually Duke and Whisper swapped and Whisper dropped the magic ring
Yeah.
like it should and Duke dropped the
I thought-
attack ring because then
We
they would
spoke
actually
about
make
this last time,
Asgarnia.
right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
would make like Asgarnia cool for magic because now you're getting the magic ring there and you're getting the
Yeah.
boots. Like I don't know, man. I don't know what happened there,
Mhm.
but
Yeah,
I do
I
have
don't
one
know.
more. I do actually have one more, and this is actually the one that I think is the coolest, and that's that Tormented Demons and all the Ember or like the Demon Bane weapons are default in Misthalin. That is a huge bonus
So
to the
like,
starting regions.
explain that one to me, because I just see from the graphic that it shows the Ember Light, but are we saying that they just drop one of the three weapons at random?
So when you get a Synapse, the Tormented Synapse, you can right click it and transform it into one of them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's it.
That's
Yeah, it just
so
boom
good.
turns into one of the three. So you will need all three to make
Yeah.
all three. It's not like a toggle, like, but you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
the Synapse, it just turns into one of the three at your own
Oh,
choosing.
that's great.
And
That's
like,
so good.
so it's not just the Emberlight, right, which required like Desert and Zaya,
Yeah.
and like it's not just that. It's also a Demon Bane range and a Demon Bane magic, which is good for like
Yeah.
Abyssal Sire, good for entry Cerberus. It's gonna be awesome for the Duke. Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of really cool things that you can do with that, and I really wish more people gave that attention. That you have these
Yeah.
now in the starting area.
These weapons are good. I saw some people somewhere in the Discord bashing Emberlight as just a bad weapon. It's really not. It's actually just a great weapon. And there's so many demonic creatures that you will be doing as part of Slayer or bossing that this is just great at. Let's not forget that I don't know if this is confirmed yet. We just need Misthalin, right? For the TDs?
For which one? Yes, just Mistlin.
The TDs. So
Yeah.
like this is your entry into at least Cerberus, Echo Cerberus if you're doing that. This is crazy for that. If you're doing God Wars in Asgarnia again, this is fantastic. The Scorching Bow has so many cool uses with its special attack. Yeah, I think it can easily be overlooked. That is really cool though. I'm so glad you explained how the synapse works to me because
And
I was a bit concerned when I saw the graphic that it just drops an Emberlight. It's like, wait, what? Why just an Emberlight? So that's really cool that it's any of them that you want.
yeah, and I think any buffs to starting regions have to be taken into account because it's your framework for the rest for everything else,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you get something here, maybe you don't need something as much. I know personally, it makes doing the Duke. I feel like I might be able to start doing the Duke really early with the Emberlight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's really cool. One other item, and then I promise we'll move on. I really like that in Kourend you can get the Kodai wand without needing the desert.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
know
that's a
that's
good
such
one.
like a niche thing, but like if you are going down a magic route this league and you do want to pick Kandarin with the Devil's Element, water spells with the Kodai wand are gonna go crazy, and I think it'd be so much fun. But that's just another one that I thought was pretty neat.
Zaya's the big
Okay.
winner here, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Zay's huge. Ferocious gloves, Kodai wand,
Mm-hmm.
big.
All right. Shall we continue on?
Yes, we've still got how many? Two more?
Yes, two more.
Two more. All right, go for it. We're on to teleport relics.
Yeah, teleport relics. So these are pretty standard. They're usually tier 2. I'm gonna assume it's tier 2 this time around. Fairy's Flight is coming back, just like in last year. You got your leprechauns and stuff like that, but we got two new ones. Bank Heist, which teleports you to any bank, deposit box, literally any bank in the game. I think even some of the like NPC bankers, some of these work. And then the big one, which I think is Clue Compass, and this caught a lot of people. This thing allows you to teleport to any stash unit in the game. You don't have to have it built. You don't have to fill it up with any items. You can teleport to any stash unit, and there's a lot of them. And it also has that bonus effect of you can teleport to your currently active clue step.
So cool.
Yeah, like
so cool. This one actually blew my mind. I'm not even gonna lie because I thought that when it came to teleport relics, we would just get the same treatment as the other years. We get two, and it's going to be like a jewelry based or a bank based, and a niche based one. But now we've got like all of these have been developed now to be kind of niche in their own way. And I honestly don't know which way I'm leaning right now. If I can just give my personal opinion, I can't decide between the. I'm actually not bothered about the banking one. I know that sounds bad because there's a lot of cool deposit box locations away from a bank. But I really am on the fence right now about Fairy's Fortune or the Clue Compass one. I almost definitely want to pick the Clue Compass one just because it's new.
yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of cool. Is like Fairy's Flight was really cool last year because it offered you these new teleports. And I don't know, did you use Fairy's Flight last year?
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
get a chance?
yeah.
Do you remember having to like reprogram your brain to like learn all the leprechaun teleports? Like that was so. And then you go back to the main game and you're like, how do I play? Like, how do I play this game without this? I think Clue Compass is actually going to break people's brains going back to the main game and not having all those clue stash teleports. Like, it's pretty nuts, and it's kind of crazy that this makes Fairy's Flight, like Bank Heist, and this one, they kind of make Fairy Flight seem a little boring in comparison when it was already so unique and new. Like, that was a year ago, and it was so cool.
There's fewer options, right? Like, I think I had a brief look at the teleport locations. I think there's fewer options for Fairy's Flight than there is for the other two.
I think there is fewer, but
yeah,
I think a lot of them are pretty unique, and they're like usually close to farming patches, which I think is kind of
that's
important.
amazing. That's good in itself. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I will say this: there's a lot more teleports for Bank and Clue Compass, but there's a lot more really useless ones for Bank and Clue Compass. You know, like there's like probably 17 different stashes in Varrock. Like
Just out in the middle of nowhere as well. Sometimes, like
yeah,
you would
like
never want to teleport there.
right, and it's like I think that I think that a lot of people are gravitating towards Clue Compass. I think all of these are very, very good. I think Bank is honestly very strong too, even though I think a lot of people think it's
Yeah.
boring because they think like, oh,
Mm,
it's not hard to get to a bank. You don't use this to get to a bank. That's not what makes it good. You use it
no.
because there's banks literally everywhere on the entire map. Like you can check Zaya. There's not that many stashes. There's a lot
Mm,
of banks over there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I think this is gonna be a really fun choice. I don't think there's gonna be
Yeah.
a clear cut favorite, except for I think Clue Compass though is gonna get way more attention in general. Or when I say clear cut favorite, I mean like strongest power level. I think Clue
Yeah.
Compass though is probably gonna get picked by a lot of people because it's so unique. And also, I'm not gonna lie, that part about teleporting to your active clue, that
Huge.
feels way huger than the other ones. And that's
It,
like the real tipping point for me. I feel like if it was just that, I would almost go for it because it'll make clues so fast when you can just like boop 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 boop, you know, like
yeah.
go get all
Yeah.
your clue steps done.
Yeah.
The hard thing about this though is I don't know if it works for every clue step because it says like it requires you to kill a certain NPC. What does that mean for like coordinate clues that have you killing like a Zamorak wizard or something? I don't know if that works, and that's the only thing I'm a little scared about.
Da-da-da. This will not work on clue steps that require you to kill a certain NPC. So, what we're saying is when you have those Zamorak mage set, clue steps, it might not work for those.
The thing is I don't know because it might also mean
Yeah.
like go kill a guard for a key kind of thing, right? Or like
Right. That makes, yeah, it could be that as well. I
and
mean,
there are
that's really
coordinate clues
interesting.
that don't have that. Like there are coordinate clues that
Mm,
you just dig at the location. So that's where I'm
yeah.
not sure. Is
But
this
I
just
think
like
it
the
will be,
clue relic, you know? So,
yeah, but it will be really strong for, especially for those hot and cold clues where, even if you've got the wiki up next to you, it's a pain in the arse sometimes to have to go around and find those. But it also kind of also unlocks the ability to juggle some clues in your bank that have really good locations. So like you can almost like bank one of each clue step that have really useful locations. If you're not bothered about doing the clues in the first place, or if you've already done a lot of clue tasks, I'll get onto that point in just a sec. But yeah, the utility just from that is also awesome. But back onto those points, this relic as well seems especially strong for early point farming tasks. We know there's always going to be tasks around complete X clue, complete X amount of clues. Maybe this year we'll have collection log slots filled in as well. So who knows? This could just be really good for jumping around, getting loads of tasks done early.
and
I think it's really strong for that.
that's like kind of to me why I'm basically locked into this one right now. It's hard for me to
Mm,
obviously justify right now to see everything else, but like I feel like if I take this, I don't know if I really care about a clue relic anymore because I'll already just teleport to like most of my clues right away. So
yeah,
if it's 5 steps versus 3 steps, like do I care that much if every step takes you like 6 seconds to do and you just instant teleport with one click in your inventory? I
yeah,
feel like beginners, easies, mediums, this is gonna fly you through those at like stupid rates.
yeah,
And yeah, I think this is gonna let me pass up the clue relic instead of like doubling down and now you're like a clue machine just working through that
yeah.
task list.
I guess it depends what the clue relic is this year. I totally get where you're coming from because, don't double up unless you really want to go hard on those tasks in the first place. Um, but, if the clue relic is actually similar to the Bloodhound one from Deadman mode, where, opening a casket will give you potentially another casket of the tier above, or if it's, you can actually juggle multiple clues or whatever, they might be really good paired together. But I get where you're coming from because a lot of clue locations you can get to pretty quick already.
Yeah, there's a couple of
I
good
think
ones. The Barrows Crypt is good. There's one at the Death Altar,
yes,
which is
yeah, right
nice.
next to the chest, right in Barrows.
Yeah,
There's a
which is
stash right next to the
awesome.
chest.
There's
Crazy.
one at KBD's lair, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that's
I've seen a
awesome.
couple other
Yeah.
ones. Krill has one in God Wars Dungeon, which is really
Mm,
useful.
mhm.
There's a lot of really useful ones, but there's a lot of like very redundant ones.
Yeah,
Also, there is one at the Shiloh Village Bank. It's one tile away from the bank, so
that's nice.
it gets you
Yeah,
to a bank. You know, you'll be using that one
yeah,
a lot. So
yeah. I mean, I guess it ticks that off, and a lot of people could make the same argument for the bank one, right? Like, oh, I've already got loads of teleports that take me like 4 tiles or 5 tiles from a bank. What's the difference really going to make? I feel like this is where Barry's Flight stands out a bit more because those locations are a bit unique. They do tie into the farming skill really well. Um, but again, kind of dependent on your regions as well.
And you could cover more of the. I think you can cover more of the bank teleports with other stuff, like having a portal nexus in your house. You can't really cover all the fairy flight ones. Those are a little bit tougher to get to, I think. And even just having quick access to fairy rings is nice compared to having to do like the whole step process and needing like a Draymond staff in your inventory. Like that, it's going to be pretty good. I think a lot of people are sleeping on fairy flight just because they've seen it before.
Yeah, I think so too. But
I'm
really
a Clue
cool.
Compass enjoyer. That's definitely where I'm leaning.
I think I will be too. I think I will be too. Not even gonna lie, it's mostly just because of the novelty, but
yeah,
I think it'll be super fun.
We got one more to talk about. Yeah,
let's talk about this because this is arguably the biggest one, since the Echo Boss reveal. I think.
I think this is probably like one of the hardest choices ever.
I think in terms of debating, it's caused a lot. Like I was looking through Reddit, and the memes on this are so good. Yeah, they are so good.
Yeah, I've seen like the strongest relic in history versus the strongest relic of today. Like I love that one with Jujutsu Kaisen. Like there's some really good ones. People are
I love that.
People are like the A tier memes right now are like so good. Or I always say S tier because they're even really good.
I think my favorite one is like, why do I need to teleport to a bank? Like I am the bank or something like that. And it's
I made one, right? And this was pretty funny. It was did you pick Banker's Note because you're trash at PVM, or are you trash at PVM because you're picking Banker's Note? You know,
guys in one. That's great.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really there's a lot of good things. I guess let's just talk about these two, right? Everybody probably knows about it, but we got Banker's Note, which allows you to note and unnote items in basically anywhere. That sounds insane. That's because it really is that insane. And this opens up just so much things. I probably talked about them. Everybody's talked about them, but like we all know, this makes you can bring in infinite food to raids and Inferno and stuff like that. I did a bunch of my fletching and pest control. Like there's a lot. You want to talk about Total Recall?
Yeah, so Total Recall. I don't think anyone saw this coming.
No.
I mean, I guess there were some people speculating, is it last recall because we've already had a fire sale thing.
I think people expected just last recall, so
Total Recall. It is a buffed last recall. So you get the Crystal Echoes again, which is an item that sits in your inventory. The difference this year is that it doesn't bank your location when you teleport. So you can store a location or a coordinate, more specifically. And that will also kind of set a save point for your character's hit points, special attack energy, stats. I'm putting a question mark on that one because does it work with boosted stats? You can tell me in just a second. Run energy. Well, obviously run energy is full, but essentially it just creates a save point of your character at that point with your stats and everything. And you can teleport back to it whenever you want. They store while inside an instance, but you cannot teleport to within an instance. So that is a bit of a caveat to it. And there are some locations from the tooltip that it says it won't store a location in, like certain mini games. Again, places that I think just make sense. That is the crux of it, I think, for Total Recall. So it is a buff last recall. I believe it doesn't have a cooldown, right?
No cooldown, and the animation's also faster too.
And the animation's faster as well. So that's pretty cool. I do think this is it's a great upgrade from Total Recall. And I'm just going to give my really quick thoughts. To me, though, it's just not enough to compete with Banker's Note. And I don't even think, so I was one of the people who, when I was talking to some people in Discord the other day, I don't even think Banker's Note is that strong late game. Like, I think it's amazing early, but like late game, last league, I actually found that like there came a point I didn't need that infinite food source anymore. Don't get me wrong, it was still great for like skilling on the go or whatever. But like, I still don't think Total Recall is enough to compete. What do you think?
I'll basically say I think Banker's Note is probably the better relic, and a lot of people are going to find it better. Especially, I would say, like straight up, if you've never done Coliseum or Inferno, or you're like new to raids, I feel like Banker's Note is almost like 100% pick. That being said, Banker's Note does require a little bit of skill to manage your inventory. It's not like the most brainless thing ever. Like when you're in the middle of Baba and you're trying to
Yeah.
unnote your sharks and
Oh,
like
I've died like that
yeah, I've
before.
died. Like, I swear, I feel like Banker's Notes killed me more times than it saved me in
Yeah.
TOA. And then sometimes I just be like,
Yeah.
all right, screw it. We're just going to use whatever I have and
Yeah.
focus here. But like, Banker's Note's really strong. I totally understand why everybody loves it. And I almost don't even have to like praise it that much because everybody knows it's so good. But I feel like some people overrate like, I think like some of the skilling portions of Banker's Note are
Yeah.
largely overrated. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, it makes rune crafting insane. That's amazing. I'm not going to question that. But then people are like, oh, well, what I can do is I can bring gems and a chisel and I will craft gems as I walk from this point to this point. And I'm like, you're going to
You're
be
not
doing
going to
that
do
the
that.
whole week?
You're not
Like,
going to do that.
yeah, like, and for most other things like smithing and stuff like that, like Last Recall kind of does that too, right? You teleport to the spot or you teleport to a bank, grab
Cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're going to have to do like the menuing in your bank, but it's not that much worse, I would say. And
No.
as far as like actual combat goes, like, you do get to a point where I don't think you need that much supplies inside of raids. I wasn't, I didn't need 25 brews every single
Yeah.
raid, right? And I understand that might just be me. Maybe you, like, if you do need it, that's fine. I'm not even trying to say it's like a skill difference. Not you specifically. Right? I know you're probably
No, I
fine,
know
but I
what you
mean,
mean.
if you're new, I would take this. If I was playing 2 years ago, I would take this 100% because I hadn't had that PVM experience,
Yeah.
and it helps. To me, I think Total Recall, the reason why I like it is because it is an unproven concept. We have no idea. We don't know what it does yet. You know what I mean? Like, we can't quite.
The tech
Last Recall,
hasn't been
yeah, like the tech hasn't even been
researched.
discovered yet.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people look at it and they think like, oh, every Echo Boss is an instance, so this thing sucks. It's not going to help me, right? But like,
Yeah.
think about it as like Vorkath, right? You can just
Yeah.
plant yourself at that tile right outside
Right
the little
outside
rock,
it.
and then you
Mhm.
kill Vorkath.
Yeah.
And then you just go right to start, jump over. And Vorkath is
Yeah.
probably one of the slower examples, but for most other things like Muspa, you'll just, as soon as you kill the boss, teleport out. You don't even have to wait for the respawn. You just enter the new
Mhm.
instance, and I don't think people understand that it doesn't save your. It's not like Last Recall. It doesn't save your hit points when you teleport out. It saves it. It's like a save state in a game. Like you're saving.
Exactly.
I have, again, you can brew up to 116 or 115, something like that. And
Mhm.
your save state is 115 HP at the start of every single fight.
Mhm.
If it's not an instance like all the wildy bosses, it's literally God mode.
Yeah.
Like,
That's exactly why I was yesterday. There was a moment, right? I'm still 100% a Banker's Note stan, unfortunately, for anyone who thinks that I might be leaning Total Recall. But there was a moment. I had a moment where I thought, is Total Recall best in slot for pretty much non-raids PVM? Because let's say you're out on a Slayer task, right? And you run out of food, but like it's not exactly a situation where you need to have loads of food. Do you just like save a save state there where you're full HP, potted up, brewed, all that kind of stuff? Total Recall, you just move like a few tiles back, but now you're full HP with boosted stats and you carry on with your Slayer task. If you're doing bosses, like you say, do you just go back to the bank, fill up your inventory again, go back there? I think when it comes to things outside of raids, the difference between Total Recall and Banker's Note is actually very minimal, in my opinion. But it's when you look at raids and it's when you look at certain skilling situations that these really start to show their strengths a bit more.
to me, the big
That's
one
what I
is
think.
also special attack because there is no potion
Yeah.
that restores
Yeah.
your special attack, and Total Recall does do that.
Yeah.
Sure, you can sit inside of like an Echo Boss Slayer and fight it 100 times with your Banker's Note, right? Well, you're gonna have to get those supplies, which is not the most fun thing. I'll be honest, right? You will run out. I know it's easy to assume you'll have a million of them, but like you're probably gonna run out. But to me, I think starting every fight, Total Recalling out, and then having like 2, 3, 4 specs, whatever, and we don't even know what the spec relic looks like.
Yeah.
If you can get those specs at the start of every single fight, I feel like that is going to be pretty damn huge. So, and it's not that bad either. Like, again, you just teleport to a bank, you come back if you need to grab some more inventory. I mean, if a monster has a really annoying drop table where there's like a bunch of different things, you might have to go back to a bank as Banker's Note anyway, or else you'll have like 70, or you have like 17 different noted like supplies, right? Like Vorkath, that's going to be kind of annoying when like 2/3 of your inventory is noted supplies. And you're gonna have to go to the bank and you're gonna have to run your way back to Vorkath. Like,
exactly. And even with your food with Banker's Note, unless you are just using brews, sometimes having to unnote like a shark and then a Karambwan and then a potion or something, that can take time. Like time that you probably could have banked and just come back with Total Recall. So again, I think people are maybe underestimating some of the stuff you have to do in between with Banker's Note. But it is still, I think, as we both agree at this point, the better relic.
Yeah, I would say like 70%, 70-30 is what I would expect from this, and I think that's like totally fine.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I don't know, I think someone is going to make a post on Reddit or in the Discord. Someone's going to make a point that just has that like that moment with people, and they think like, oh, actually, the difference isn't that crazy outside of raids.
Well, because a lot of people, I think they see it as last recall. That they're thinking about it as
Yeah.
last recall, right?
Yeah,
And they don't
it's not.
understand that
Yeah.
you're literally saving up like a point in time. Also, just to be fair, like I think people have sort of like become so accustomed to last recall that you don't know what life is like without it, right? Whereas like
Yeah.
Banker's Note, you just got it. It's like this new toy. But like, man, last recall, it's kind of been there for a while now, and like
Gonna
you
be
might
sad,
really
man.
start to miss
Actually,
it.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna miss it. I'm genuinely
Yeah.
just gonna miss having it around. But let's be honest, Last Recall plus Banker's Note was kind of God mode as is. So I'm kind of happy in a way that
Yep.
now the decision is tough.
I
Yeah.
also shout out to the team for actually making last or like a better last recall that
Yeah.
people are choosing something else over. That is crazy. I do not think I would have actually thought about that. And
Yeah.
Bankers Note, yeah, it's really is looking like just straight up like one of the best relics we've ever had. So
100%.
pretty cool.
When Mod Arcane said at the may have been the Summer Summit last year, 2023. I'm sure he said Last Recall is just like a core part of leagues. It's definitely coming back. It will, safe to say it will pretty much always come back. I don't think anyone was expecting it to come back as a relic choice against a relic like Banker's Note. So people are going to have to sacrifice it this year. We'll have to see what it's like without it, man.
I have one more question about this, and that's what tier do you think this will be in?
That's really difficult because so Banker's Note last year was what? Fire Sale tier
Tier 3.
2, tier 3, tier 3?
Yeah. And I think you got last recall passive on tier 3 as well, right? Or maybe that was tier 2 you got it. But it was like the 5-minute cooldown.
I'm gonna say tier 3 or 4. I still think it'll be quite early. I still think it'll be, just around the time that you've unlocked your first region. But I can't decide between tier 3 or 4. I think the main difficulty with guessing relic tiers this year is there's one combat relic, right? And where is that going to sit? Is it going to be a universal buff to all attack speeds? And if so, does that mean it will come in at tier 4 or will it come in later? That's why I'm struggling to, I think, place this. But what do you think?
I think it's going to be like one of the latest it's going to be like one of the last in the skilling thing. Yeah. So like,
oh, really?
If there's 6 tiers, I expect this tier 5 or tier 6. And that's actually just because of the harvest relics in tier 1. And I think that if you're giving everybody a harvest relic tier 1 and then you throw in Banker's Note, an hour later, I just feel like it kind of diminishes that early game experience.
Yeah, it does.
And
it does.
last recall with no cooldown an hour into the game, I don't know. I feel like if instead you got this in like 3 or 4 days of game time or so, like week 1, definitely week 1, but like maybe when you're getting your third region, then I think that would actually be more fun when these aren't breaking the early game quite as much as
I'm actually with you on that. I'm actually with you on that. I don't want to feel like the choice I made for tier 1 is obsolete in the same day that I got it.
Yep.
Yeah, I really don't want that, especially if you do end up pairing it with something like Golden God. If you've got unlimited money and a huge food stack and Banker's Note, and you picked Animal Wrangler, you're going to feel pretty crappy about that choice. So I'm with you on that, actually. I think that would be nice for it to be, tier 5 would be ideal. Tier 6 at a push,
Yeah, tier 6 still, I think like somewhere around like, around when you're getting your third region, though. That's probably where I would guess.
Cool. So that is all the reveals so far, man. Like, it is, you know what? My time right now, it's 13 minutes past 4, which means that there has been a reveal right now.
I was actually going to suggest we could do like I don't think we could spend another, half hour talking about it, but if you wanted to like do a quick, like, early, we pull it up and take a look at it, I would be so down to see what has happened.
Let me know when you find it.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
Link it to me. I can't, I'm refreshing the Leaks teaser page. I can't see it.
Yeah, hold on. Let me check the Leaks teaser page and see if it's up right now. It is up. We can refresh the Leaks teaser page and it should be there. Oh, yeah. There's something new.
Teasers. Okay, November the 18th. Oh, okay, right. 1 second. Let me go to the official post about this because I want to see it. Right. Okay, should we talk about this? Oh my god.
Yeah, do you want to
Overgrown.
watch? Wait, do you want to watch the video, or have you seen it already, or are you
I
watching it?
haven't seen the video. Let's
All right,
watch it.
I'm
Let's
ready.
watch it.
Okay, I'm gonna click it.
Okay, go.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. Not bad.
Okay, that's like an element of Farmer's Fortune.
Wow. Wow, that's
Okay.
actually really cool.
Okay.
This is really cool.
Just getting passive farming XP on the go. That's crazy, actually.
That is super cool. Wait, that is so cool.
And from that graphic, is that in the same tier as Grimoire?
Oh, I don't know. Did it say anything?
Look at the very end of
It
that
is. Oh my.
Yeah.
Wait, it actually is the same tier as Grimoire. Oh, that's
Yeah.
tough. Remember when I said Ruinous Power, same tier as
Yeah.
Farmer's Fortune? Wow.
Exactly. You weren't wrong, man. You were on the money with that.
Dang,
Damn.
I don't know. You want to give first? Like, I don't think we can spend too much on it, but
yeah,
dang,
I mean,
that's pretty
listen,
cool.
We
Huh?
were just reacting to a video, so I'm just going to give the rundown really quick. Overgrown, it's an item that accesses the seed vault from anywhere in the world. Additionally, you get the following benefits to farming: crops never dying. When planting a seed, a 75% chance it doesn't get consumed. When the seed is fully grown, if your seed vault has another seed of the same type, it automatically harvests that patch and replants the seed. Insane.
Yeah, this
That
thing
is so cool.
I think a lot of people are giving up on Grimmy today after seeing this.
I'm
I think I
definitely
am.
giving
I'm
up
done.
on
I'm like,
Grimmy
oh,
now.
screw it. All right, back to Kandarin. Let's go. No.
Oh my God.
Yeah, this thing's cool. You got what the bank of. I think you can access it and bank your seeds, so it's not going to take up your whole inventory. And then I think the auto farming is going to It's going to be pretty fun, and I think it's going to be cooler than last year's Farmer's Fortune, where you walked up to like a patch and then you just unloaded all of your like I don't want to say that, but you used up all of your seeds on the farming patch. And yeah, it was kind of like I think this is gonna be really cool. I'm very excited for this. So
yeah, I think it's really nice. And you know what else is a cool little teaser is that tier looks like it has 3 relics.
So there is another one. Wow.
So there is another one still to come that we just don't know what it is yet, and that's really exciting. Was there a 3rd relic in this tier? Last time was it Infernal?
It was Equilibrium, Infernal Gather.
Oh,
no, wait. No,
Equilibrium.
I'm wrong. It was it was Equilibrium, Farmer's Fortune, Ruinous Powers. That was the tier last time. So
I wonder.
Maybe Equilibrium's back for another round on the block, you know?
For another round of the least picked relic. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? That's super cool, though. My first thoughts, honestly, are that Zaya Stunks going through the roof right now.
Oh, yeah. How would this work with farmers' contracts? Wouldn't it be kind of weird if it just auto plants it? And
that's a good point,
get a little notification.
That's one thing it's missing. That's one thing it's missing, isn't it? Is you can't pick your contracts. Am I right? Am I missing something?
No, it doesn't say anything about that. And also, even if you could pick your contract, if it auto harvests it, does it like auto complete your contract for you? Like, how does that work? You know, that's kind of weird. It would be cool if it auto like refreshed the contract. You know what I mean? Like you get a snake grass contract and it just refreshes that to another one. I don't know how that would work though, but that's cool. That's cool.
Either way, I think the relic by itself really strong. So 2 totally different uses though. You know, Grimmy and this. So I think I don't think this is going to split the decision massively. I think there will definitely still be people who will value getting the prayers, getting the spell books over this. But I really like the look of this relic. Really like it.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I always love the farming ones. I honestly though, I think looking at it though, I might just really commit to the farming though. I might just force myself to do my farming and recall back. Maybe I'll like grab Fairy Splay and just actually do my farm runs because Grimoire is pretty good, and I don't know. Maybe I'll.
And that is something that I think is super exciting about these reveals. We're finally getting to a stage now where the picture is coming together. You can see how some of these relics can be paired together to form a playstyle, and that's super exciting. I love that.
Yep, I'm pretty stoked.
Sweet. So that is all the reveals so far. I think we're done. And I know we said we'd go through our region reveals, but I also know we've been on now for over 2 hours. So do you want to save that for another day, or do you want to go through them?
Maybe we just, I don't know. Do you want to? I don't mind going through it real quick. We could take like 5 minutes. We just don't talk about it too much and just kind of knock them out real fast. What do you think?
It's up to you because I think the other thing we could do is that could be a whole standalone thing. Is
Oh yeah,
at
sure. Let's just do it another day. I don't mind.
all I'm thinking is I want to, I really want to revisit it and like I kind of want to take a look at past Double Shine and Scritic and just laugh at how wrong we were. And I just feel that we're a couple reveals away from having like a close to full picture. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Let's do it soon then, because this one I think
Yeah.
I thought this would be a lot faster, and then we actually went on a lot longer.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. It's
Yeah.
cool to talk about. Cool to bounce ideas.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
it's great, man. And it's been good. I think what we'll do is we'll try get together in like a couple days. We'll go through our regions. And there'll be a couple new reveals by then
maybe
as well.
combat
So
masteries by then. That'll be a fun thing to talk about. A lot to talk
and I
about
think
there.
that is probably the biggest thing because I bet it would be sod's law, wouldn't it? We go through today, we go through the regions, masteries get revealed like tomorrow, and then that changes again.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well then, until
Great.
until next time, I'm sure everybody watching this is excited that there's another episode down the line. So
Episode three coming soon. Yeah.
all right then. Until then,
Sweet.
thanks everybody for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thanks for the chat, man. It was always fun.
Yeah. Nah, always a pleasure, man. And hopefully speak to you soon.
Yep. See you.
See you later.